Chapter 3361. Luo Qingshan saw Du Jiushang's nervous appearance and couldn't help laughing. I'm not angry. I'm just a bit disappointed because you're so certain that it won't work. If it's just an analysis, this place is indeed not suitable for a resort. It's more suitable for a business district. Du Jiushang looked at the map again, and this time he was more serious. After a while, he looked at her and said, "But there are also disadvantages." "What disadvantages?" "If this place is built as a business district, the Cloud Cherry Lake won't be able to form a river of stars." Du Jiushang picked up a pen from the table and made a mark. "It's very clear on the map. So is this the reason why you're not willing to let the people from the business circle build a business district here?" Luo Qingshan said with a nod. "It can be considered one of the reasons. After all, the pace of people's lives is so fast, and our village is different from the outside. Our pace is very slow. The 4 seasons of the year, spring, summer, autumn, and winter are all very meaningful. But society is progressing and people have to grow." Du Jiushang put down the pen and seriously said, "Although I don't know why I want to persuade you, I feel that your difficult expression makes me feel uneasy." He could feel her annoyance, and what he cared more about was what the man called Iran had said just now. There would be people coming tomorrow, and, if his guess wasn't wrong, it should be the people who wanted to buy the business circle of Star River Village. "Do you believe that there are gods in this world?" Luo Qingshan took a deep breath as she looked at the yellow bar fluttering in the wind. The temperature around them seemed to drop at that moment. After a while, he said with a nod, "I do." "Pucci." Seeing her serious appearance, Luo Qingshan couldn't help laughing as she said, "If you don't remember anything, will you still believe in gods?" After thinking for a while, he looked up and said seriously, "Because I always have a feeling that God brought you to me. I know you might think that I'm being hypocritical, but this feeling is so strong that I have no choice but to believe in the gods in this world." Z. Luo Qingshan's lips curled into a faint smile when she heard this. "There are gods in this world, but they didn't bring me to your side. Rather, they brought you to my side. If this God really cared about them, he would at least let them have a peaceful life this time. Even if it was as calm as water, even if there were no sweet words, even if her heart didn't skip a beat, as long as he was by her side, she would feel very satisfied." "All right." Du Jiushang smiled. "You don't want to leave this village because of the gods." I'm here as the feng shui masters. I'm here as the village's fangs see the future. I know that if everyone sells this place, it will anger the gods that have been guarding this place, and a disaster will come." At this moment, a gust of wind blew in from the door, and the copper bells on the wall jingled. It was like the gods were by their side, listening to their conversation. After a long time, it was like the surrounding air was frozen until Du Jiushang said, "The things you protect, I'll protect with you." "Didn't you say?" Luo Qingshan pursed her lips. "This place really isn't suitable for building a resort." "Not suitable doesn't mean it's impossible." Du Jiushang revealed a thoughtful look. "If I had my memories, it would be easier, but it's fine. Give me a bit of time. We'll guard this place together." End of this chapter. Hurry up and read it. Chapter 3362. At that moment, she finally felt like Big Brother Jiushang wasn't hostile to her anymore. It was like he was on her side like before. "All right." After a while, she gave a slight nod. "I will definitely stall Sumu. I won't let him succeed with his despicable methods." "Sumu?" Du Jiushang's eyes had a faint sparkle, like he was a bit familiar with this name. Luo Qingshan said, "Do you remember anything?" "No." Du Jiushang raised a brow. "But based on his name, he doesn't seem easy to deal with. He is indeed a troublesome person." Luo Qingshan held her cheek with her right hand and tapped the map with her left hand out habit. "But if we really want to deal with him, it doesn't mean we have no chance of winning." What kind of person Sumu was, she could understand a bit based on the previous host memories. But she would only know the specifics after she met him. The next morning, when Luo Qingshan got up and went downstairs, Du Jiushang had fallen asleep on the altar table with a half-finished blueprint beside him. The crisscrossing lines were as straight as they were drawn with a ruler. Without knowing why, Even if Du Jiusheng didn't have any status and didn't even have any memories, he was still that dazzling. Luo Qingshun put a blanket over him and left the altar, heading towards Xinghe Village's square. Yiran had called her early in the morning. Sumu had personally come to Xinghe Village to see someone. This person was no one else but the person who had brought Empress Yi back from morning song. And it was her. Sumu was a smart person. Empress Yi clearly wanted to work for him, but she suddenly didn't appear after leaving morning song. There was only one possibility for this situation. Someone had guessed his thoughts, and before he could carry it out, they had killed his plan in the cradle. He really wanted to know who this person was. President Su, we all know that you are a big shot in the business circle. We are deeply sorry for the trouble that Empress Yi has caused you this time. From Luo Qingchen's direction, the village head, Yi Ku, was talking to Su Mu in a low voice. Su Mu's assistant, Da Zhuang, said, "It's your son who cheated in Chaoga, isn't it?" Sure enough, the saying barren hills and turbulent waters produce unruly people is probably referring to people like you. Yiran frowned and clenched his right fist tightly. However, in the end, he endured it. After all, it was Empress Ye's fault this time. Spending a night in a place like Zhaogu would cost thousands or even tens of thousands. He understood his younger brother's character. He was indeed the kind of person who would spend lavishly if he had the chance. "I'm really sorry." Yika bowed deeply again and apologized sincerely. De Zhuang wanted to say something, but was stopped by Su Mu. "Village head, I don't have any other intentions. I just think that Empress Yi is a good talent, so I wanted to give him a chance." Su Mu's eyes narrowed. I could hear his ambition from his words, but it seems that he was stopped by someone. Yika seemed to be in a difficult position. Yi Ran hurriedly interjected. "We all think that our younger brother isn't suitable to enter your circle. President Su, you're overestimating him. Is that true?" Sumu looked into Yi Ran's eyes. "Then why are your eyes flickering? Is it because you don't want to say that person's name, or is that person very important to you?" Chapter 3363. In the next second, Yi Ran's expression changed. He had fallen into Su Mu's trap. Luo Qingshun, who was standing not far away, narrowed her eyes slightly and walked forward. Neither the village chief nor Yi Ran was a match for someone with a high IQ like Su Mu. They would only be at a disadvantage if they continued to communicate like this. "Mr. Su, are you here to sightsee in our Xinghe village?" Luo Qingchun put her hands in her pocket, and her clear-as-water eyes were as light as dust. Her lips curled into a faint smile as she said, "But why do I feel like it's more like an inspection?" Su Mu's gaze immediately fell on Luo Qingchun. He narrowed his eyes and looked her up and down. At this moment, even if he didn't ask who the other party was, the aura she had when she walked over, the tone of her voice, and the words she said were completely different from the other people in the village. A battle between experts was actually at a level that most people could not reach. A slight frown could let the other party see through his heart. Therefore, in a verbal confrontation, whoever changed their expression first would lose. "Of course, I'm here to sightsee." Sumu narrowed his eyes and said elegantly, "It's just that I cherish talents. Empress Yi is a talent. You shouldn't bury her." "Buried?" Luo Qingchun said with a shrug and a faint smile. "Where does Director Su's words come from? After all, everyone in Xinghe Village knows Empress Ye's character. Not only is she ignorant and incompetent, but she also likes to brag and show off." Although it was inappropriate to say this in front of the village chief, she had to attack Su Mu verbally from another angle. Naturally, he came prepared. She had to suppress his arrogance before she figured out his purpose in coming here. Some talents can't fully display themselves in a backward village. Su Mu raised his eyebrows and said, "I've always had a good eye for people." "Oh." Luo Qingchun suddenly understood and said, "So, what do you think Empress Ye's ability is, Mr. Su?" Could it be?" Luo Qingchun didn't wait for Su Mu to finish his speech and interrupted him. "Is it gambling?" At this moment, Luo Qingchun could feel the change in Su Mu's expression. Although it was a very small change, Luo Qingchun saw it clearly. Yes, she won. Although it wasn't a glorious win, a win was a win. She used the memory she obtained from the original owner to throw Su Mu into confusion because she revealed the most crucial part of his plan. From the very beginning, Su Mu had planned to set up a dangerous situation step by step. He wanted Empress Yi to owe a huge sum of money due to gambling. When she was unable to repay the debt, she would hand over Xinghe village to him. He wrote the script beautifully from beginning to end, but he didn't expect that Luo Qingchen had already announced the result before the script had even started. Su Mu knew that his heart was incomparably strong. In addition, he had been in the business circle for many years. Even if it was a big bid, he didn't panic. However, the moment Luo Qingchen said the word gambling, he felt a light behind him. The strong aura of the other party instantly surrounded him, making him feel fear that he had never felt before. For a long time, Su Mu didn't speak. His assistant, Da Zhuang, anxiously said, "Who are you? Do you know who Mr. Su is? Don't you think before you speak? Hurry up and read the latest chapters." Chapter 33-64. He. Luo Qingchen gave two cold laughs. This tall and sturdy uncle. Do you think that it's 550 BC? Everyone is equal in a democratic society. I'm neither an employee of the Su group nor a servant of the Su family. Why should I know his identity? Am I related to him? You. De Zhuang was so angry that his face turned red. His words were stuck in his throat for 5 seconds. The reason was simple. He had no reason to refute Luo Qingchen's words. However, he was so angry that his stomach was burning. Su Mu narrowed his eyes and looked at Luo Qingchen with a look of appreciation. De Zhuang, we should go back. But President Su, she, haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? Su Mu's tone turned cold. De Zhuang immediately admitted defeat. Yes, President Su. Su Mu looked at Luo Qingchen again. May I know the name of this young lady? Su Mu smiled elegantly. She was handsome to begin with. Many of the female students and young women around them blushed, and their hearts beat faster. Luo Qingchen's lips curled into a faint smile before she gave a shrug. Can't Director Su find out if I say no? Since the result is the same, it doesn't matter if I tell you or not. Sigh, you little girl. De Zhuang wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Su Mu once again. I know what you mean, Mississippi, Su Mu nodded. I'm sorry for my rudeness. Village Chief, it's getting late. We'll take our leave now. I hope you can reconsider my suggestion. Okay. Take care, President Su. Luo Qingchen looked at Su Mu's back. She narrowed her eyes and frowned. She didn't hear the conversation between Su Mu and Yi Ku. She knew that Su Mu must have told the village chief everything. Moreover, they would use other angles and benefits to make Yi Ku hand over the ownership of the land in Xinghe village. Luo Qingchen looked at Yi Ku's awkward expression. She knew that Su Mu must have seen a very good condition and had clearly stated the pros and cons. Yi Ku was tempted. However, Star River Village did not belong to him alone. If he wanted to sell the land, he would need the approval of at least half of the villagers. This was a large project, and Du Jiusheng had used this to become the final winner of the business war in Star River Village. But now he was already on her side. At least for the time being, they wouldn't be on opposing sides. But Du Jiusheng had been missing for a day and night, so the Du family should have called the police, and the police should have investigated the taxi driver. Luo Qingchen's guess was right, and the fact was indeed so. Du family residence. Du Jiusheng's mother, Ning Siyao, fell to the ground crying as the maid beside her patted her back. Du Jiusheng's father, Du Sun, was pacing back and forth in the house, feeling anxious. He thought that his son had gone out to take care of business, so he didn't care that he didn't come home yesterday. But when Du Jiusheng's assistant, De Ji, said that he was missing, Du Sun began to feel uneasy. De Ji was his assistant and was in charge of his schedule, but when he couldn't get through, Gu Sun immediately called the police. The police said that there was a taxi that fell off the cliff and the driver died, but there was no one else in the car other than the driver. The taxi was badly burnt, and the police couldn't collect any fingerprints or clues. Hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 33-65. You're Xiao Shang's assistant. How could you not know where he went? Du Sen's face was red, and the veins on his forehead were popping. Daji was so anxious that he was about to cry. He could only say with all his might, "Old Master Du, it's all my fault." At that time, young Master asked me to send Miss Yu off, so I drove her off. I didn't expect him to go to Xinghe village alone, and then such a big thing happened. It's all my fault. No, it's actually my fault. In the next second, a girl in a yellow dress slowly walked in. She had a delicate princess headdress, and her white skin paired with the gorgeous dress made her look very elegant. But her eyes were a bit red. "Miss you." Yukin nodded to Daji and said to the two elders of the Du family, "It's all because I went to the office to find Jiu Sheng that he was worried about my safety. So he had Daji send me back." Du-san gave a soft sigh. "Jiu Sheng isn't a child anymore. He has his own judgment. This matter has nothing to do with you. Master, I think that since the police said that there was only the driver's body in the taxi, could it be that young Master got out of the taxi because of something? But if he got out of the car, he wouldn't be missing now." Yukin frowned. "Uncle, Auntie, I will use all the resources the Yu family can use to find Jiu Sheng." "AI." Mother Du gave a deep sigh. "The police can't do anything. What can you do?" "What should I do? I only have one son. What should I do?" "Don't make a fuss." Du-san said with a frown. "Miss Yu is right. Although I've always had a business relationship with CEO Yu, as a father, I'm very grateful for Miss Yu's care for Xiao Sheng. I'll have Daji send you back first. I don't want CEO Yu to worry. I'll stay here." Yukin pursed her lips and said anxiously, "See if there's anything I can help with." "There's really no need. A girl like you can't help much." Du-san looked at Daji, who had his head lowered. "Send Miss Yu back. As long as there's news from the police, I'll have Daji inform you." As a father, he knew his son's personality. She was cold and aloof, disdainful of love. "All right." Yukin lowered her eyes and said, "Uncle, please inform me at any time. I can help." "All right. Thank you for your concern for me." Yukin, who was standing in front of the Du family's gate, had an indescribable feeling in his heart. In the past, she didn't seem to care that much about a person. However, when he suddenly disappeared one day, and it was related to her heart, there was a particularly unbearable feeling, as if unknowingly he had really fallen in love with someone. However, that person was exceptionally cold to her. Perhaps it wasn't only her who was cold to him, but to all women. But even so, if he could come back, she would definitely try her best to get close to him, no matter how difficult it was. But day after day passed, there was still no news from Du Jiusheng. It was as if he had suddenly disappeared from the face of the earth. There was no corpse, and there was no news of him. The Du family suffered the biggest blow in their history. Not only did their stock price almost collapse, but Du's son, who had stopped caring about the company's affairs, also took over the company again. No one wanted to buy Xinghe Village anymore. The Yu family was the same. The only one that didn't let go of Xinghe Village was the Su family group. Hurry up and read it. Chapter 3366. Other than the last time Su Mu came to Xinghe Village and was sent back by Luo Qingchen, he didn't come personally. But he always had his assistant investigate the situation of Xinghe Village since Du Jiusheng was missing. So the person most likely to buy Xinghe Village was him. There was only half a year until the once-in-10,000-year meteor shower, so he had to move faster. After all, if he could buy Xinghe Village, there would be a bunch of buildings to be demolished. This matter couldn't be delayed for the Su family group. Du Jiusheng was unfamiliar with everything in Xinghe Village at first. Although he wasn't used to it, he kept adapting. In less than a month, he was already very familiar with Xinghe Village and Luo Qingchen's home. Luo Shi went from thinking that this youth stole his daughter to thinking that his daughter stole his friend despite the difference in age. This change was too fast. "Xiao Sheng, help me get a wrench. I'll climb up and fix the window." "Uncle, I'll do it." Xiao Sheng, I'm going out to buy 2 bottles of wine. We'll drink a few cups together after we take a shower. The two of them don't like drinking, so I'm very troubled. "Uncle, I'll go." Xiao Sheng, why can't the remote control be pressed? He just went out. Why are you looking for him if the remote control can't be pressed? Du Jiusheng came in with 2 batteries in his hand as he said, "I want to buy batteries. Uncle can't use the remote control. Right, right. I don't know why it broke. It's not broken. The batteries are out of power. The things that happened above were common in the Luo family. There were simply too many to count. Luo Qingshun felt that her dad was already treating Du Jiusheng as a future son-in-law. In short, the first thing he thought of when something happened wasn't Luo Qingshun, but rather his wife who shared the same bed as him. The first thing he thought of was Du Jiusheng, who Luo Qingshun brought back. Since Luo Qingshun said that his name was Jiusheng, Luo sure liked being with him every day, like he had found a friend in his life. There was even a day when she complained to Du Jiusheng that she wanted a son, not a daughter. It wasn't that he favored boys over girls, but that daughters were like their mother's little cotton-padded jackets. They didn't seem to have anything to do with their father. His wife and daughter always did everything together, but he always drank alone. He always felt like he was abandoned by his family. But now it was different. A young man had suddenly appeared, and he could do anything with him. It was as if a gift had fallen from the sky, giving him a very comfortable feeling. Other than doing some trivial things with Luo Shi, Du Jiusheng spent all his time designing the blueprints. Therefore, what he did most of the time was to observe on the spot. For example, on a sunny afternoon, he asked Luo Qingshun to take him to ride the Ferris wheel. The amusement facilities in Star River Village were relatively old. The Ferris wheel, which had not been activated for a long time, creaked loudly, giving people a sense of danger. Actually, the vantage point here is really suitable for stargazing. Du Jiusheng took out a piece of white paper and drew 2 strokes. But there's no way to connect it to the other rides. Because this is the vantage point, but there are hot springs flowing underground. Other than the Ferris wheel, there's no way to build anywhere else, so it's quite far away. End of this chapter. Hurry up and read it. Chapter 3367. Luo Qingshun was very clear on this matter, but she couldn't think of a solution no matter how she thought about it. This is a difficult problem. Du Jiusheng thought for a bit before a faint sparkle appeared in his eyes. But I seem to have thought of a solution. Really? Luo Qingshun excitedly grabbed his wrist. Quickly tell me. Du Jiusheng heard this and raised his right hand to tap the bridge of her nose. After we go to all the places that I think are difficult, we'll talk about it one by one. His fingertips were a bit cold, but there was endless pampering and warmth. When they got off the Ferris wheel, he would reach out to hold her hand out of habit. Be careful. So no matter when Du Jiusheng faced her, he would always be gentle. So no matter what, she couldn't let him become her enemy. Because she liked his gentle appearance more, it was like a warm breeze. It warmed her all the time and years. Although it was winter, the afternoon sun was very warm. There was a small shop selling milk tea in the amusement park, and Du Jiusheng bought 2 cups of milk tea for her. I'll drink 2 cups by myself. Luo Qingshun said, I'll become a big fatty. I didn't want you to become a big fatty. Du Jiusheng said with a warm smile. It's just that I don't know which cup of milk tea tastes better, so I want you to choose first. Drink both cups, and leave the cup you like better. Give the rest to me. He said this very casually, like he wasn't trying to be gentle with her, but made her heart skip a beat, and her heart beat fast. All right. Luo Qingshun took a sip and said, I like the strawberry one more. Then I'll take the mango one. That afternoon, they walked around the entire Star River Village, stopping every now and then. Du Jiusheng had circled a total of 5 places that were hard to solve, and they solved 4 of them in the end. The only one left was the Sea of Flowers. Because the ground was very soft, this place wasn't suitable for planting flowers, but it was planned to be a sea of flowers. It was really beautiful. The light of the setting sun shone on the warm sea of flowers, and the air was filled with a faint fragrance. Du Jiusheng's eyes went from the sea of flowers to Luo Qingshun. He slightly knit his brows as a faint liguang appeared in his eyes. Luo Qingshun was stunned for a moment. She looked at him and said, Looking at your expression, is this place not suitable to become a sea of flowers? It's indeed not suitable, but I've changed my mind. Du Jiusheng narrowed his eyes to look at the sea of flowers in front of him. I feel that it is suitable to become a sea of flowers. He wanted to protect a smile that was as warm as the spring breeze. Time to go back for dinner. Du Jiusheng patted her head and said, I should be able to draw the first draft of the design tonight. If Star River Village doesn't want to be bought and can become a perfect resort, it needs everyone's hard work. As long as I can work hard with Big Brother Jiusheng, I'm very happy, Luo Qingquan said with a chuckle. It's like doing something very meaningful. After a while, he raised a brow and said with a faint smile, All right. The sea of flowers under the setting sun, her smile, it was indescribable. This was the place he wanted to protect. No matter how hard it was, he wasn't afraid because as long as they worked hard together, it was something meaningful. As long as he was with her, everything was meaningful. End of this chapter. Hurry up and read it. Chapter 3368. Du Jiusheng had been in Star River Village for a month, and he was about to finish his design. Luo Shi was very happy, saying good things about his future son-in-law to everyone. So he kept asking Luo Qingquan to get married. Right? That's right. He was urging her to get married. He felt that his daughter's conditions were normal, and her temper wasn't that good. It was a bit better now. At least she knew how to do divination. But Du Jiusheng was different. Du Jiusheng was like a god in his heart. He was simply the perfect son-in-law in this middle-aged man's heart. So before he recovered his memories, he felt that urging him to get married was very important since it was an urgent matter. I say, how has your relationship been recently? On a starry night, Luo Shi asked while putting food in his bowl. Qingquan isn't young anymore. She's already 20. She should be at that age. Luo Qingquan almost spat out a mouthful of rice as she looked at Luo Shi with wide, watery eyes. 20 years old was considered old? Wasn't 20 years old the most beautiful age of one's life? Wasn't it the time to enjoy one's youth? Who was the one discussing marriage at 20 years old? Dad, I feel. When Luo Qingquan wanted to argue with her dad with the thoughts of a young person, Du Jiusheng spoke before her. I feel that Uncle's words are very reasonable. He was very calm as a faint sparkle appeared in his eyes. Reasonable? Why did it suddenly make sense? No, I feel that Luo Shi slapped the table and said, Xiaosheng really has my heart. Daughter, give yourself a good day, and then you can... AI, you guys. Luo Qingquan put her chopsticks down on the table and said with a red face, How can you be so rude? This is an important matter. The two of us can decide for ourselves, Dad. What are you meddling for? Uncle, you should understand. Du Jiusheng gave a sigh and said with an aggrieved expression, She's not willing. She must think that I'm someone who has no memory and nothing, so she doesn't want to marry me. Du Jiusheng knit his brows and put down his chopsticks with a hurt look, looking very lonely. It had to be said, with Du Jiusheng's acting skills, his future was limitless. Even an Oscar was waiting for him. You guys, just as she was about to explain, she was interrupted by Luo Shi again. He looked at her earnestly and said, My dear daughter, you can't be like this. How can you look down on others? When two people were together, feelings were the most important thing. Nothing else mattered. If you bully Xiaosheng like this, Dad will be angry. I bullied him. Luo Qingquan stood up with her arms akimbo and said, Aren't you two bullying me now? The next second, the two of them said in unison, We didn't. You. Luo Qingquan took a deep breath and calmed herself down before saying, I suddenly feel that what you said was right. Big Brother Jiusheng, bring $9 tomorrow, and I'll take you to get married. All right. Du Jiusheng replied without any hesitation as a warm glow appeared in his eyes. Luo Qingquan felt like she had fallen into an unknown trap, and this feeling was very strong. End of this chapter. Hurry up and read it. Chapter 3369. But because Du Jiusheng didn't have an ID, they encountered a lot of trouble getting the certificate. It was a good thing that Luo Shi knew people in the Civil Affairs Department, so things were a bit easier. But it still took an entire 3 days. Although it was recorded, because Du Jiusheng's information was blank, there were loopholes in the legal protection of this marriage. But Luo Qingquan didn't care about this at all. She felt her hands trembling as she held the marriage certificate. At that moment, her memories became very terrifying. She suddenly couldn't remember if she had gotten a marriage certificate with Du Jiusheng or not. And this certificate made her feel a trace of comfort in the sorrow they had experienced for the past 1,000 years. Du Jiusheng raised his hands to cover her eyes. "Don't cry. This is a very happy thing for me, and I don't want to see you cry the most." She was surprised before saying in a choked voice, "I didn't." Luo Qingshun didn't know why her eyes turned red. She just knew that her nose was sour and her eyes were filled with mist. She didn't dare look down because as long as she did, the tears would fall down. This wasn't sadness, but rather being moved. Finally, there was a day when she and Du Jiusheng were holding hands in front of the Civil Affairs Department. The warm sunlight shone on them, and the air was filled with the smell of happiness. Du Jiusheng's gentle and pampering voice sounded in her ears. "I don't know what my past is, and I'm not sure what my future will be, but holding your hand means that I will be with you in life and death, in wealth and in poverty." Du Jiusheng looked into her eyes and said in an incomparably serious voice, "Even if you let go of my hand, I won't let go of yours. I will always be with you, always be with you. I know, I know, I know." Luo Qingshun closed her eyes and threw herself into his embrace as she cried, "You'll always be with me. I know, big brother Jiusheng, I know. Life and death, life and death." She remembered everything he said, but there were many things that she didn't dare remember, because there were always tragedies between them. As long as she closed her eyes, she would see the scenes of life and death. She wanted to meet him, but she was also afraid to meet him. Even if it hurt her to the bone every time, she still stubbornly looked forward to meeting him. Even if the ending was always so miserable, at least she had once had it. Du Jiusheng was surprised. He didn't know why she was crying so sadly, but there was a pain in his heart. It was as if her sadness could affect all the cells in his body, even his life. "Don't cry. I'll always be by your side. Don't leave first this time." Luo Qingqin's eyes trembled. "I don't want to be left behind by you." He was slightly taken aback. After a long while, he finally said, "All right." Perhaps it was because he had lost his memories. Once upon a time, she was the only one who had memories of their time together. Did he treat her badly in the past? Was that why she was so upset? Was that why she didn't want him to leave her? Was he that bad in the past? In that case, he should treat her even better in the future. After all, perhaps only he knew how much he loved her. He knew very well that he was not from this village, but he followed her back without hesitation. Congratulations to the newlyweds. End of this chapter. Hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 3370. Why did he come back? Perhaps only he knew the reason. Since he didn't have any memories, why couldn't he follow his heart? Perhaps the blank him was his true self. Perhaps marriage was a task that many people had to complete, but it was a lifetime promise for him, and he would use all the time in his life to fulfill this promise. Du Jiusheng worked even harder after getting married. When Luo Qingshun was divining at the altar, he would help the villagers solve all kinds of problems. What surprised Luo Qingshun was that he didn't just know a thing or two in all fields. He gave off the feeling of an all-round knight. In short, Du Jiusheng, who had lost his memories, was good at everything other than having no memories. Even the wedding night could be used as a textbook to tell Luo Qingshun what a different country was. It was a good thing that she was confident enough to believe that big brother Jiusheng didn't have anyone else he liked. Otherwise, with such skilled skills, she definitely would have asked Pan Wei. After 3 months, Du Jiusheng's design was finally finished. Luo Qingshun looked at the straight lines drawn on the drawing, and her lips curled into a deep smile. This drawing was as long as the Qingming along the river. If Du Jiusheng was born in the Song dynasty, he would have been a super powerful painter. Big brother Jiusheng is big brother Jiusheng. This is simply becoming a god with a single stroke. Luo Qingshun carefully rolled up the drawing and said, "Like this, as long as we find an investor, Xinghe Village can be renovated into a new resort. We don't need to worry about being out of touch or being bought by others." The drawing is only the first step. Du Jiusheng seriously said, "We still need to find an investor and a contractor. With our speed, we won't be able to finish all the renovations before the meteor shower. Not to mention us, Even Su Mu can't do it. Luo Qingshun held her cheek and said, but big brother Jiusheng can actually think of combining the Ferris wheel and the water world. This is simply wonderful. I've heard Dad say that people place importance on health. Since there are hot springs under the Ferris wheel, how about we make a water park with hot springs? Du Jiusheng softly patted her head. That way you and Dad can go to the hot springs more often. I want to go with big brother Jiusheng. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips into a smile and said, we'll all go together. The feeling of being together as a family was really good. Even if they were doing some ordinary things, it was so meaningful. After village chief Yiko learned of this news, he decided to tear down the old hotel and rebuild it. After all, the meteor shower was about to arrive, and a large number of tourists would flood into Star River Village. The hotel was one of the most important places to visit. This matter was actually proposed by Du Jiusheng because he thought it was very important and they had to work on it quickly. However, the construction company seemed to have been deliberately delaying the time, which made Luo Qingshun very concerned. On the third day of construction, she personally came to the hotel to check it out. The old hotel hadn't been demolished yet. Only a cordon had been erected around it. Luo Qingshun frowned slightly, feeling inexplicably uneasy. She knew very well that even if she lost all her abilities in this special plane, this feeling of uneasiness would not be an illusion. Something must have happened because she felt powerless once again. Until the next second, everything in front of him suddenly turned black and he lost all consciousness. End of this chapter. Chapter 3371. When she opened her eyes again, she was already in Xinghe Village's hospital. Her father was sitting beside her with a happy look, and Du Jiusheng was talking to the doctor at the door. Luo Qingshun slightly knit her brows as she thought, was the previous host really his biological daughter? She was already in the hospital. Why was her dad still this happy? AI, baby girl, you're awake. Luo sure looked at her with a very happy look. Dad has some good news to tell you. What good news? Luo Qingshun rubbed her temples. What good news can there be in the hospital? Before her voice fell, she seemed to have thought of something as she looked at Du Jiusheng not far away with a look of joy in her eyes. If being in the hospital was a good thing, it could only be one thing. Daughter, you don't know. The good news is, I'm pregnant. How did you know? Luo sure looked at her with a surprised look. I thought you didn't know. I still have basic logic. Luo Qingshun curled her lips into a smile. Moreover, I'm the one who's pregnant, not you, so it's not strange for me to know before you. Luo sure gave two silly laughs. That's reasonable. The doctor just said that my baby grandson is already 3 months old. 3 months? Then it should be during the first few days of their marriage. It was very normal thinking about it, since Du Jiusheng had really tortured her a bit over the past few days. If one had to use an idiom to describe it, it should be called excessive exercise. Actually, you don't need to call him a grandson. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes as her lips curled into a faint smile, because he will definitely be a boy. Luo sure looked at her with wide eyes and asked, Daughter, how do you know that it will definitely be a boy? Because I'm a diviner. Luo Qingshun said with a proud smile. I know if my child is a girl or a boy. What do you know? Du Jiusheng slowly came to her side when he heard this. You're this careless. You don't even know that you have a baby, and you're saying that you're a diviner. Without knowing why, Du Jiusheng, who looked like an old man with knitted brows, gave off a very dignified feeling that made her speechless. She really didn't know that she was pregnant, but this baby must be a boy. She wasn't wrong. Anyway, stay in the hospital and do a proper checkup in the next 2 days. Although Du Jiusheng was very serious and had a reprimanding tone, he couldn't hide the joy in his eyes. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and nodded obediently. I understand. Why did you suddenly change your face? You're like a man-eating monster. If you continue to be so careless, I might really turn into a man-eating monster. The serious Du Jiusheng wasn't gentle at all, but without knowing why, Luo Qingshun could feel the pampering in his voice. Very, very doting. However, at this moment, Luo Qingshun was happier than anyone else, because she could finally see Nianen again. The youth who had returned to her side with her moon glass fan after so many reincarnations. The youth that she had never personally raised. But he was still that outstanding. It was a kind of brilliance that shined, a kind of brilliance that she was incomparably proud of. End of this chapter. Chapter 3372. At the same time, at the Su family group. Su-mu had been a bit anxious over the past few days, which was rare for him to be anxious since entering the industry. He always felt that he had no match in the business circle, and the one who made him feel the most pressure was Du Jiusheng. However, this man had disappeared for close to 4 months. A person who disappeared for 4 months was no different from death. Although he suddenly had a feeling of standing at a high place, he especially liked this feeling. However, after Du Jiusheng disappeared, a Luo Qingshun suddenly appeared. It was said that she was a diviner in Xinghe village. He sent to Zhuang to investigate and found that whether it was men, women, old, or young, Xinghe village believed in this diviner called Luo Qingshun, praising her as if she was a god. Su-mu naturally knew how powerful this person was. After all, when he confronted her, he could feel the other side's aura suppressing him, making his heart feel depressed and uneasy. This girl really was a troublesome person. It was because of this person that the acquisition of Xinghe village and the following development projects couldn't proceed smoothly. I had you ask the villagers, how many people were willing to move? De Zhuang's forehead was covered in cold sweat as he said in a trembling voice, "Less than 10, what?" Su-mu tightly knit his brows. "Didn't I have you bribe the construction company to delay their development? Why hasn't there been any progress in persuading the villagers?" Once there was a problem with the construction company, it was easy for the villagers to feel a sense of crisis. Su-mu also wanted to take advantage of this to make the villagers panic. After all, if the hotel wasn't built before the meteor shower, all their efforts would have been wasted. "Boss," De Zhuang said with a bit of difficulty. They seem to trust that girl called Luo Qingshun, and this trust has reached the point of faith. Perhaps she really has the ability to divine. AI, what kind of society is it now? They believe in science, all right? Su-mu said with a frown. Only a backward village would believe in a diviner. It's clearly a little girl. Before he could finish, Su-mu fell silent. He suddenly remembered the duel between him and Luo Qingshun in Xinghe village that day. Maybe she really wasn't as simple as a silly girl. But even so, he still felt that it was impossible for her to reach the same height as him because she did not have the ability. "Boss, don't worry. There's still good news." De Zhuang took out a handkerchief to wipe his sweat and said, "A few days ago, the National Astronomical Bureau announced that the once-in-a-lifetime meteor shower will be delayed for about 7 months. We still have time." 7 months? Hearing this, Su-mu's lips curled into a cold smile. This is indeed good news, and it's good news that even God is on my side. We have enough time to figure out who has been preventing us from acquiring Star River Village and preventing them from building the village. De Zhuang patted his chest and said, "Boss, don't worry. In 5 months, I will find a way to make the villagers agree to move. I'm determined to get Xinghe village. I won't allow any mistakes." Su-mu frowned and said, "Send me all the information tonight. I'll study it myself." End of chapter. Chapter 3373. Over the next month, Su-mu determined the people who would stop him from buying Xinghe village. Other than Luo Qingshun, there was also her husband. The villagers didn't know what his name was. They just knew that the elders called him Xiao Sheng and the young children called him Big Brother Sheng. It was said that he told the village head to demolish the hotel as soon as possible and use the money raised by the villagers to build a bigger hotel to welcome the meteor shower. Although he had never seen this person before, he was indeed a person with a good head for business. This person called Xiao Sheng, "Boss, do you want to see him?" De Zhuang suggested, "If we can use him for ourselves, it would be a very good thing for our Xinghe village. Since he is Luo Qingshun's husband, it means that they have already decided to go against us. Do you think there's any meaning in seeing him or not?" Su-mu narrowed his eyes and said, "Since this couple is the key to buying Xinghe village, let's take care of the man first." "Ah," De Zhuang was surprised. "Boss, aren't you going to take care of them together?" De Zhuang had been with Su Mu for many years. It wasn't like he hadn't encountered this situation before. In a normal situation, Su Mu would take care of these stumbling blocks together and wouldn't leave any problems behind. But he didn't plan on taking care of Luo Qingchen this time. He wanted to take care of her husband first. I just feel that there are too few smart women in this world. Su Mu narrowed his eyes as the scene of him going against Luo Qingchen that day flashed in his mind. Although he was at a disadvantage, when he remembered that feeling, the blood in his heart would boil. It was like meeting a friend that was hard to come by in 100 years. So he had to admit that he admired Luo Qingchen. Even if it was a problem in the future, even if it was endless, he was willing to keep her for now. Boss, I understand what you mean. De Zhuang narrowed his eyes and said, I will find a good time. This isn't the first time you've done this kind of thing. If you don't do it cleanly, you'll be the one going in. Understood, boss. There was no black or white in the business circle. They walked between the black and white, even going into the gray areas. But De Zhuang never thought that Du Jiusheng would be more cautious than he thought. Therefore, the previous few times he tried to get rid of him, he failed, and the time dragged on. Luo Qingchen felt that there was a problem with the construction company. In the next 5 months, they had changed several construction companies, but they all gave the same progress. If they wanted to completely demolish the old hotel, they had to strictly inspect the geology and soil. Otherwise, if they were not careful, the Star River Village might turn into an ocean village. Although Luo Qingchen felt very strange, she changed the construction site again and again, which slowed down the project even more. It was not until the 5th month that they demolished the hotel and the surrounding buildings one by one. Tonight was the last night to demolish the main building of the hotel. When Luo Qingchen wanted to go to the construction site for the final confirmation, her stomach suddenly had a severe pain. She had a strong premonition. Was it Nian summon? Was he going to be born? 8 months? Why was she going to be born in 8 months? Lying in a hospital bed, Luo Qingchen felt very unsettled. Luo Shi called Du Jiusheng, but he found that his phone was turned off the entire time. The amniotic fluid is already broken. It must be a premature baby. You have to give birth now. Otherwise, the child and the pregnant woman will be in danger. But my son-in-law isn't here yet. What son-in-law are you waiting for now? Mother Luo stood up. Doctor, you decide. You have to ensure the safety of the mother and child. All right. The doctor of the provincial hospital nodded. I will do my best. There was a large reversal. End of this chapter. Chapter 3374. Actually, when she was lying on the operating table in the delivery room, her heart was filled with panic. Moreover, she was filled with incomparable panic. This panic was filled with a deep sense of helplessness. It was like she already knew what would happen, but she couldn't do anything. The deep pain had already sent her into an abyss, falling into a long dream. Du Jiusheng was wearing a set of black clothes as he stood on the other side of the bridge of helplessness. It was a very long bridge, and there were all kinds of flowers on both sides of the bridge, with the brightest ones being the spider lilies. The spider lilies bloomed, and the dead died. Big brother Jiusheng. Luo Qingchen took a deep breath and softly called his name. He slowly turned with eyes as deep as water as he looked at her. Nian will be born safely, and you will also be safe. There was a thin layer of mist in his eyes that was filled with unwillingness. Where are you going? Luo Qingchen's heart skipped a beat. She wanted to walk in his direction, but she found that there was a thick wall of air between them. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't open it. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't take a single step forward. Don't hit. Du Jiusheng raised his right hand and patted her head. Be good, my heart hurts. What are you? Luo Qingchen felt her nose become stuffy and her tears couldn't help falling down. She said to Du Jiusheng in a choked voice, Where are you going? Where are you going? Qingchen, I want to stay by your side. Du Jiusheng revealed a helpless smile. But why is it so hard? So hard. The memories of the previous life appeared on the bridge of helplessness bit by bit, but before she could say anything, it was already a parting of death. Where are you? Where are you going? I'm in a flattened building. The place I'm going to... Du Jiusheng slowly looked up with sparkling tears in his eyes as he revealed a sad smile. Is a place without you? In the next second, his figure seemed to become more and more blurry before finally disappearing at the end of the endless corridor. Big brother Jiusheng. Wah 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 wah. There was the sound of a baby crying in her ears, and Luo Qingshun suddenly looked up. Where's big brother Jiusheng? Daughter, you're awake. Luo Shi let out a long breath and said, It's good that you're awake. Yi Ran went to look for Xiaosheng. Annie Wang, who was passing by, said that she saw Xiaosheng going to the hotel that was going to be demolished. He probably thought that you went over and didn't bring his phone with him. No, no, no. Luo Qingshun said no 3 times in a row. The fear in her heart had reached its limit. In his dream, he said that he was in the main building, so Dad, call the construction team immediately and ask them to stop the construction. Hurry up. At this moment, Luo Qingshun could feel her hands trembling. She knew that this was the fear of parting. 1 year. They had only been together for 1 year. She had spent 1,000 years in the void plane world, but she had only received 1 year of happiness. But she actually felt that she was so greedy for such a time. Big brother Jiusheng, don't leave me. Don't leave me. And Yin, daughter, what did you say? When she was talking to herself, Luo Shi slowly came over and said, I just called and asked. The main building was flattened 5 minutes ago. Why did they stop the construction? The construction team was quite efficient this time. End of this chapter. Chapter 3375. Dong. There was the sound of a glass shattering. It was the hot water that Mother Luo had given her, and now it had shattered into pieces. He's inside. What did you say? Luo Shi nervously touched Luo Qingshun's forehead and said, Daughter, are you feeling unwell? Dad will go find a doctor. She softly shook her head and didn't say anything. Dad, take me in and out. I want to be alone. Luo Qingshun held back her tears as she revealed a faint smile. When big brother Jiusheng comes back, you can call me. All right, then just ring the nurse if you need anything. Luo Shi actually felt that something was wrong, but he thought that perhaps it was because his daughter was tired and needed a good rest. The moment the door was closed, she looked down and her left hand softly stroked the exquisite ring on her ring finger. I don't want to be left by you alone. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and muttered, So I'll go with you this time. The bridge of helplessness, the road to life, I'll go with you. She raised her right hand and picked up the knife on the bedside table. When the cold knife was placed on her pulse, there was a kind of calmness in her heart. She didn't know why everything ended so quickly. Was it because she was too happy in this year that the heavens were jealous? Why were they jealous of her? Those 1,000 years of waiting, those heart-wrenching parting. Could it be that it wasn't enough to exchange for a lifetime of warmth? Wait for me. When she closed her eyes and used her right hand holding the knife to cut her pulse. Host wait. System. Luo Qingshun's heart was filled with joy. This was the system's first time appearing in a special world. It was like an angel that came from the heavens, bringing a trace of light to her despair. Because this is a special world, the system can't stay here for too long. The host has a choice. Deduct 1,000 experience points in exchange for a chance to travel through space. 1,000 experience points. As they progressed further into the planar space, she didn't seem to care about how much EXP she had. Even 1,000 EXP was nothing to her. At the same time, this plane will be distorted. The price is definitely not irreversible. I agree. You tell me what I should do. The host should be very clear about the effects of reversing time and space. I can take the host to the time and space before the host entered the delivery room 30 minutes ago. Good. The corresponding host will disappear from this plane for 30 years, but 30 years? It's been too long. Even if I came back, host, the main point is, but because of the existence of young Master Nian and his ability is a powerful space-changing technique. The time that the host leaves this space-time will be shortened from 30 years to 5 years. 5 years later? Yes. 5 years. 5 years. 5 years. How many 5 years of life could be wasted? How many 5 years of Ao Shui's youth could be reborn? This kind of time was a kind of torture for her and Du Jiusheng. But she had no choice. He had waited for 1,000 years just to be reunited with her once more. You are Du Jiusheng. I am Luo Qingchen. I know. You can begin. The system still has something to tell the host, although it can't be said. Speak. I'll show the host what happened to Du Jiusheng 30 minutes ago. The host will understand. This chapter ends. Chapter 3376. Before space and time twisted, Luo Qingchen had received the system's information about what happened 30 minutes ago with Du Jiusheng. He had been waiting at the same place for Luo Qingchen to come back, taking her to drink the sour plum soup that she liked to drink recently. But after waiting for a while, he found that Luo Qingchen didn't come back. He wanted to call her, but when he took out his phone, he found that it was out of battery. Du Jiusheng, who had always been worried about her, decided to go to the construction site to take a look. But he didn't know that because he was in a daze, he was attacked by a group of unknown people and an iron rod hit the back of his head. When he woke up, he was surrounded by darkness. He felt a strong headache coming on, like his head was about to be torn apart. Countless memories flashed in front of his eyes like a movie. Some memories became clearer, and some memories became more and more blurry. His life seemed to have undergone a dramatic change. He remembered all the things he shouldn't have remembered, and forgot all the things he should have remembered. But it didn't matter if he remembered or not because he was about to die. All the passages in the abandoned building were sealed, and he was trapped inside, waiting for the excavators outside to flatten the building. All of this was done by Sumu. Since there was such a powerful person in Xing He village who became his stumbling block, then this person couldn't be left alive. But murder had to be disguised as an accident to escape the eyes of the police. Therefore, he didn't have Zhuang kill him. Rather, he knocked him out and brought him into the building that was about to be demolished. It was a perfect plan that didn't have any flaws. In the space 30 minutes ago, Du Jiusheng was trapped in the hotel that was about to be flattened and lost his life. This was the memory that the system gave him. Time was ticking, and the air was filled with the faint smell of formalin. Luo Qingchen closed her eyes and felt the time around her rewind. Time went back to 30 minutes ago, when she wasn't in the operation room yet. Actually, she didn't know if this was right or wrong, but this was her only chance. The only chance to keep him alive was her last chance. Doctor, you make the decision. You have to ensure the safety of a mother and child. I will do my best. Wait a minute. Luo Qingchen bit her lips and said, Give me 5 minutes. I want to talk to my dad alone. Luo Mu looked at her with some doubts, but looking at her very serious look, she nodded and said, Okay. She and Luo Shi were the only two people in the delivery room. Luo Qingchen bit her lips and tried to sit up straight. Dad, I don't have time. I'll make it short. Daughter, first of all, you have to believe that I have great-grandfather's abilities. I am a fortune teller. Of course I believe you. You're my proudest daughter. All right, I'm going to say 3 things. First, I'm going to be missing for a while. No, perhaps not a period of time, but 5 years. What? Second, I lied to you. Your son-in-law who fell from the sky is surnamed Du and named Jiusheng. Jiusheng? Luo Shi knit his brows and said, Why does this name sound so familiar? He really felt that it sounded familiar, as if he had heard it somewhere before. Because he is the Du Group's president, Du Jiusheng. Into this chapter. Chapter 3377. What did you say? Luo Shi's eyes popped out. He felt that his daughter was testing his heart when she said first and second. Such shocking news. For an old man like him, his heart really couldn't take it. Dad, I don't have time to let you digest this. Luo Qingchen bit her lip and said, Let's put it this way. I came back from the future. This is the best result. All right, I know. But my grandson isn't born yet. He will be born, and he will grow up safely. Luo Qingchen lowered her eyes and said, It's a pity that his father won't remember him. You mean? Luo Shi seemed to understand what Luo Qingchen meant, but he didn't dare understand. After all, sometimes the truth was too heavy. Perhaps it's fate playing with people. Luo Qingchen took a deep breath and said, He will immediately remember that he is the Du Group's chairman and will forget everything that happened in Xing He village. What? Luo Shi was so surprised that he couldn't even speak. Sometimes, it was really difficult for a person to accept such metaphysical things in such a short time. But he had to believe it, because his daughter's eyes were filled with unwillingness. She was really telling him everything, including everything that happened in the next 5 years. In other words, Du Jiusheng won't remember everything here, and he will want to buy Xinghe village again. Luo Qingshun took a deep breath and said, "Tell all the villagers that I divined that. If the villagers sell their village, they will have bad luck." All right, all right, all right, all right. Other than that, don't tell Du Jiusheng anything related to me, including the child. He is a very conceited man. You can't make him believe things that aren't in his memories. If the villagers want to live a peaceful life, don't say a single word. Wait for me to come back. Luo Qingshun said with trembling brows, "Dad, I will definitely come back. You have to protect the village for me. As long as the villagers don't agree to sell, he can't do anything even if he has heaven-defying skills." She was running out of time. She had to make everything clear in one go. At that moment, she didn't even dare guarantee that her decision was correct. She just used her own thoughts to guess Du Jiusheng's thoughts. Once he found out that they would be trapped in Star River Village for an entire year without his memories, with his personality, he definitely wouldn't let off anyone in Star River Village. This was why she kept emphasizing that the villagers couldn't tell Du Jiusheng what happened here. If she was not here, everything would only become more troublesome. "Daughter, are you really leaving?" "Yes." Luo Qingshun closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. "Call the construction company and ask them to stop the construction. He's trapped inside." In the next second, a look of realization flashed across Luo Shi's eyes. He seemed to have understood something. Since her daughter came from the future, she must have come back for Du Jiusheng. "I understand." Luo Shi raised his calloused hands and patted his daughter's head. "Go. Leave everything here to Dad. Don't worry." She sniffled as tears came down. She said in a choked voice, "In the end, he's called Nian and crossing the path of reincarnation, thinking of June for 9 lives. Good night." This chapter ends. Chapter 3378. When her eyes were closed again, and she was about to give birth to Nian, and Luo Qingshun's heart calmed down a lot. At least she felt that she had stopped everything at the best stage and minimized everyone's harm. Nian's cry came again. Luo Qingshun wanted to open her eyes, but she felt that she had fallen into endless darkness. In the crack of time and space, the sound of a countdown came to her ears. To them, 5 years was an incomparably long period of time, but to her, it was merely 5 seconds. Everything around her was so quiet that she could hear a pin drop on the ground clearly. And in these 5 seconds, they had experienced 5 whole years. Unknowingly, many things had changed in the past 5 years. But this was her choice, and she didn't regret it. She was still 22 years old, the age of youth. Standing at the entrance of Xinghe Village, snowflakes were floating in the sky. It was late winter. Everything around her didn't seem to have changed much. Xinghe Village hadn't been renovated, and it hadn't been acquired by any company in City A. It seemed that no matter how difficult the situation was, her father would bear it for her. She didn't know why, but at this moment, her eyes were a little red. It was probably because of family love. Luo Qingshun nodded slightly to prevent her tears from falling and walked forward. Just as she took 2 steps, her feet were suddenly hugged by a pair of small hands. Before she lowered her head, Luo Shi's figure appeared in front of her. "Daughter, you're finally back." The next second, the little guy behind her buried his head in her coat and repeated, "Mommy, you're finally back." In an instant, Luo Qingshun suddenly squatted down and hugged Nian. She couldn't help crying. "Nian, yes." Nian touched her head like a little adult and said, "It's okay." Mommy Qingshun came back on time. Luo Qingshun was stunned for a moment. She found that at this moment, Nian and had cured all her sad emotions. She should have comforted Nian, and because she had left him for 5 whole years. But in the end, it was Nian who comforted her and gave her courage and strength. "It's good that you're back." Luo Shi's voice sounded a little choked up. In the past 5 years, there was a lot of white hair on his temples, and he looked a lot older. Mommy Qingshun. Nian looked up. Although he still had a childish face, his eyes were especially deep. He looked at her sensibly and calmly and said, "Grandpa and I are guarding this village together. Grandpa said that if we work hard, Qingshun's mommy will definitely be proud of me when she comes back." "You're great." Luo Qingshun gently stroked his cheek with her right hand and said, "How can my baby Luo Qingshun not be great?" Moreover, his father was the omnipotent Du Jiusheng who knew astronomy and geography. "Your mother is already waiting for you at home. Today is little Nianan's birthday." Luo Shi looked at her kindly and said, "Let's go back first." Although there was a kind glow in Luo Shi's eyes, there were many other emotions. It seemed like many things had happened in the past 5 years. There were some things that had reached a bottleneck, but it was good that she still had time. "All right," Luo Qingshun nodded. She took Nianan's hand and said, "We're going home. Although we didn't prepare a present for little Nianan, you can tell Mommy what you want." "I received a present." Nianan raised his eyes slightly and looked at her with a warm smile. Mommy's return is the best gift. Into this chapter. Chapter 3379. When a 5-year-old child was too sensible, it would make people feel even more distressed. Nian's sensibility had already surpassed his age and even surpassed this time and space. When she held his little hand, she felt a sense of security. She felt a sense of security from the depths of her heart. It seemed that no matter how difficult it was, she was fearless. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Nian and happy birthday to you. After the family finished singing the birthday song, Luo Qingshun looked at Nianan and said, "Although this is the first birthday Mommy is spending with you, I promise that I will do my best to spend every birthday with you in the future. Actually, besides Mommy, I picked up something on the road today." Nianan opened the backpack behind him and took out an ice blue fan from it. The next second, Luo Qingshun was suddenly startled. She took the fan from Nian's hand and said, "Yuli fan." "Ah." Luo Shi was stunned. "Daughter, you know this fan?" Before seeing Luo Qingshun, they had already walked back and forth in Xinghe village several times. Although they knew that Luo Qingshun would come back today, they didn't know the exact time. Nianan walked very fast in the snow. Suddenly, a fan fell from above and hit his head. Luo Shi thought that such a special fan must be very precious. After he picked up his daughter, he would look for the owner of the fan. But unexpectedly, when Nian held the fan tightly, Mommy seems to be at the entrance of the village. "I saw her." Looking at Luo Qingshun's reaction, Luo Shi was even more certain that this fan didn't appear out of thin air. Luo Qingshun explained, "This fan originally belonged to Nian. It seems that he also won the favor of great-grandfather and obtained the ability of a diviner. The medium should be the Yuli fan." In fact, her own divination ability seemed to be different from that of great-grandfather's generation. She didn't need any yellow bars. She only needed to hold the spirit stone to know what she wanted to know about the future. And Nian had the Yuli fan. "I see, but this is all for later." Luo Qingshun thought for a while and said, "Nian is 5 years old. It must be very hard for you to protect Xinghe village." After a long time, Luo Shifeng sighed deeply and said, "Actually, I'm not the only one who worked hard. The villagers all worked very hard. No matter how much pressure they faced, the villagers did not compromise." "What happened?" Luo Qingshun frowned. "Did they use some unorthodox means?" "It's not just unorthodox methods." Luo Shi angrily bit his lips and said, "The village chief's son, Empress Yi, suddenly had a strange illness for some reason. At first, we didn't know the reason, but later, Nian told us that someone deliberately did it. The village head didn't have enough money to treat him, and in the end, Luo Qingshun felt her heart skip a beat. It was indeed very uncomfortable. "Is it Sumu or—" "Don't worry, it's not Shaosheng." Luo Shi frowned and said, "After he left Xinghe village, he only came back once. He asked some questions, but no one said anything." "What did he ask?" "Because that day, Yiran brought people to the building to save him." Luo Shi sighed and said, "Yiran said something, and later I also went to ask. So what did Yi Ran say? He told Xiao Sheng that since he left, he should never come back. End of chapter. Chapter 3380. Luo Qingshun could imagine Yi Ran's tone when he said this. He still had feelings for the previous host, so naturally he was hostile to Du Jiusheng. He who doesn't have any memories of Xinghe village wouldn't care about what Yi Ran said. Luo Qingshun said with a helpless smile. So what did he ask when he came back to the village? Although you told us not to mention anything about him, and you, including Yin, and he lost a year of his memory. It's normal for him to want to figure out what happened in this year of blank life. I know. Luo Qingshun looked down and said, so according to his personality, Su Mu wanted Xinghe village that badly, so he shouldn't have let it go like this. Luo Shi was silent for a few seconds before he said, subconsciously, he must have cared about this place. For years ago, on the eve of the meteor shower, Su Mu must have used some inhumane means to take the village. Inhumane methods? He said that there was a problem with our village's water source, so he directly took Xinghe village to court. Once they won, Xinghe village would immediately enter the auction. Luo Shi said, but at that time, a man called Daji suddenly appeared and cleared our name. Daji, Luo Qingshun said, was it his assistant? I think so. Suddenly Luo Qingshun felt a strange warmth in her heart. Perhaps it was because even if Du Jiusheng didn't have any memories of this village, he was still subconsciously protecting it. What about now? Why is the village still in deep trouble? Luo Qingshun said with a frown. According to the blueprint he drew, the Xinghe village should be on the ancient path, so why is it still in deep trouble? This is the most important question. Luo Shi took a deep breath and said, I can't find the blueprint that Xiao Sheng drew at all. What? Luo Qingshun was stunned as a surprised look appeared in her eyes. She remembered that the blueprint was in his room. It couldn't have disappeared. The next second, she put down her bowl and chopsticks and said, I'll go look. I've searched many places, but I just couldn't find it. Luo shook his head and said, I keep feeling that it's very strange, but I can't put my finger on it. Luo Qingshun frowned and walked towards a room on the second floor. Nian jumped down from the chair and mumbled, Mommy, I'll go too. Luo Qingshun picked him up and walked towards Du Jiusheng's room. There was a small wind chime at the door that she had personally hung up. Luo Shi told her that since Du Jiusheng left, other than cleaning it normally, he didn't touch his room or let anyone else live in it. There seemed to be a faint fragrance in the room, which made people feel relaxed and happy when they walked in. When Luo Qingshun pushed open the door and entered the room, her eyes fell on the desk at first glance. It was not because of anything else, but because there was a design drawing on his desk that was as long as the Along the River during the Qingming Festival. Is this the blueprint that Mommy mentioned? Nian jumped onto the desk and looked up at her. Why did grandfather say that he couldn't find it? I think this blueprint only appeared when I came back. Luo Qingshun came forward to take Nian down as a faint sparkle appeared in her eyes. Chapter 3381. Every straight line on the blueprint seemed to be drawn with a ruler. For her, the scene of him holding her with one hand and drawing the blueprint with the other was still vivid in her mind, as if it had happened yesterday. It was extraordinarily clear. The blueprint issue has been solved. Luo Qingshun took out the beef tendon from the side drawer, rolled up the blueprint, and said, Let's ask your grandfather what the most difficult thing is now. We have to solve it one by one. Nian can help. Nian took her hand and said, It's the most meaningful thing to work hard with Mommy. Although this was the first time he had seen Luo Qingshun, it was actually not like this. He always had dreams, and Luo Qingshun's figure often appeared in his dreams. Sometimes she was wearing a school uniform, and sometimes she was wearing clothes that seemed to be from ancient times. So even if it was the first time he saw his mother, he would not feel strange at all. On the contrary, he especially wanted to stay with her all the time. Someone has said this sentence before. Luo Qingshun's mouth outlined a faint smile and said, Let's go out. Of course, when Luo Qingshun took the blueprint back to the dining table, Luo Shi almost spat out a mouthful of rice. How is it possible? Luo Shi's eyes widened and said, Daughter, where did you find it? The next second, Luo Mu looked at her with disgust and said, "Don't tell me you didn't look for it seriously." "I looked for it. I really looked for it seriously." Luo sure said anxiously. Where did he put it? Can you tell Dad?" "It shouldn't be. I've looked for it." "Well, it shouldn't be Dad's problem." Luo Qingqin's eyebrows moved slightly and said, "Because this kind of blueprint was placed on the desk, I think it's probably because of me that the original rules of time and space were distorted and the blueprint disappeared with me. Is it that metaphysical?" Luo Qingqin shrugged and chuckled. "Your daughter and grandson are both diviners. I thought you were used to this kind of metaphysical thing." Actually, I'm not completely used to it." Luo sure laughed awkwardly and said, "But since we have this kind of blueprint, let's go to Xinghe Village's renovation conference." "Xinghe Village's renovation conference?" "Yes," Luo sure sighed and said, "This is currently the most troublesome matter." "What do you mean?" "Due to Su Mu's pressure over the past few years, Xinghe Village has reached a bottleneck. The village hasn't developed, and the villagers' handmade products can't be sold. Everyone hasn't made any money for a long time, and we've even been losing money. Therefore, the village chief decided to agree with the suggestions of the major companies and launch a press conference for the renovation of Xinghe Village. Although we are not selling the village on the surface, once one party gives the best suggestion and benefits the villagers, I'm afraid that Xinghe Village will." After a long time, Luo Qingqin nodded and said, "I understand. I've been gone for 5 years. It's already very difficult for you to guard this village for 5 years. I know village chief's difficulties, and I know the villagers have done their best. But Mommy," Nian pulled her sleeve and said, "I don't want to leave here. Everyone here is very good to Nian, and don't worry." Luo Qingqin clenched the blueprint in her hand and said, "As long as we have this blueprint, no one can take Xinghe Village away." "When will the press conference be?" "The day after tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning at the Olympic Center." "Happy New Year's Eve. What did you eat today?" "In a chapter. Hurry up and read it." Chapter 3382. Since this was the first and only time that all the people of the business circle were gathered together to discuss the ownership of Xinghe Village, Du Jiusheng would definitely go. Things had already developed to this point. If Xinghe Village had to be sold, with Du Jiusheng's personality, he wouldn't let it fall into Su Mu's hands no matter what. Even if it wasn't related to Xinghe Village, he wouldn't give in where Su Mu was. Luo Qingqin woke up early and went to a city's department store to buy 2 sets of parent and child clothes. One for herself, and one for Nian, and Mommy is really beautiful. Nian said with a cute smile, "Is this considered a birthday present?" "Yes," Luo Qingqin said with a nod. "This is my first birthday present for Nian," and the waitress standing on the side was a bit surprised and only came back to her senses after a while. "He is your son?" Luo Qingqin heard this and asked back, "He doesn't look like it." "No." The waitress shook her head. "It's just that you're too young. You feel like a student." "Actually, I also think the same." Nian nodded with a serious look. "Then you'll call me Mommy at home and Big Sister when you go out." "Poochie," the waitress said with a chuckle. "I've never seen such a sensible baby before. He is the most sensible and cute baby in the world." Luo Qingqin patted her head. "We're preparing to set off." "All right," Nian said with a nod. "I'll go wherever Big Sister goes." It had been 5 years. In the past 5 years, she had been worried about what Nian would become without her company. But now it seemed like she had worried for nothing. That youth who wore a white shirt on the basketball court. That youth who hit a three-pointer in 100 minutes. That youth who was surrounded by countless girls, but his eyes were still cold. He would always be this outstanding. He never changed. At the same time, in the Du family's Lincoln limousine, Du Jiusheng flipped through the documents in his hand with a bit of coldness in his eyes. Yu Can blinked and asked, "You should be well prepared, right?" Because of Yu Can, the Du Corporation received help from the Yu family at the most critical moment. Therefore, the 2 elders of the Du Corporation's attitude towards Yu Can changed greatly. Du Jiusheng was going to the Xinghe Village Development Conference, so it didn't matter if she insisted on going with him. He replied faintly and did not say anything else. For the past 5 years, his heart had never been at peace. In many moments, images that he had never experienced would flash through his mind. Perhaps it wasn't that he didn't experience it, but that he had forgotten everything that he had experienced in that 1 year of blank memories. But why did those memories make him feel an inexplicable warmth? Sumu must have come prepared. The villagers of Xinghe village are not easy to deal with. Yukankan's eyebrows twitched slightly. You have to be worried. Yes. It was still a very cold response, without any emotion. This kind of response gave people a feeling of indifference, but Yukankan was used to it. The cousin sitting in the front felt the strange atmosphere in the car, and quickly said, Jiu Sheng, Luo wants to eat Yuji's puffs later. You can wait in the car. All right. Du Jiuxing nodded before looking at Li Luo. It's not a good thing for a little kid to eat too much sweets. But uncle, I just want to eat. And you can't eat too much. Chapter 3383. Du Jiusheng had a cousin called Du Yingsheng who met her true love a few years ago, the son of a city's mayor, Li Hao. She gave birth to a daughter called Li Luo. Li Luo was 4 years old this year and was very beautiful. Although she was just a little girl, she would definitely become a great beauty in the future based on her facial features. But she was the child of a rich family, so she was a bit arrogant. Adding in the fact that Du Yingsheng pampered her. The little princess temper had grown over the years. He also pampered this little niece, but there were many situations where he restricted her actions. Therefore, Li Luo was probably most afraid of Du Jiusheng in the entire Du family. Understood, uncle. As soon as his voice fell, the car slowly stopped. Du Yingsheng carried Li Luo out of the car and headed to the UG dessert shop. At this moment, they probably didn't know that danger was slowly approaching them. People who walked on both sides would always make many enemies. The mayor's son was even more so. The 2 Lincoln limousines had been followed when Du Yingsheng carried Li Luo into the limousine. They were planning on making a move at the Olympic Center, but now it seemed like a better chance. Because of the traffic, Du Yingsheng had to hold Li Luo's hand as they walked. Because this UG Puffs was very famous, there were many people in line. Perhaps it was fate, or perhaps the world was just that small. Luo Qingchun and her son Yin and also came to buy puffs at the same time. They were in front of Du Yingsheng, and when they were prepared to leave after buying the puffs, Li Luo softly touched Nian's bag and said, What flavor puffs did little big brother buy? Luo Qingchun and Yin were surprised at the same time. Nian turned and said in a very calm voice, Strawberry flavor. In the next second, the moon glass fan on Nian's bag emitted a faint blue light. There was an incredible scene that flashed in front of his eyes. Nian knew that this was a scene from the future. Li Luo revealed a sweet smile as she said to Du Yingsheng, Mom, let's also buy strawberry flavor puffs, all right? All right, we'll buy whatever you like. Luo Qingchun looked at the little girl, named Li Luo, and slightly knit her brows, feeling that this little girl was very familiar. His eyes and brows bore some resemblance to him. Because of what? Could it be that this girl was related to Du Jiusheng? Luo Qingchun kept an eye out and looked around. Sure enough, there was a Lincoln limousine across the street. There were many rich people in the city, but not many people could afford to sit in a Lincoln limousine. The people sitting in the limousine were either rich or respectable. At the same time, Du Jiusheng in the car was a bit surprised. He slightly knit his brows, and there was a complicated feeling that filled his heart. Panic, unease, anxiety, anticipation. What happened? Yukankan seemed to have noticed something wrong with his expression and asked with concern, Is something the matter? No. Du Jiusheng softly replied before rolling down the window of the Lincoln limousine. The department store was bustling with people, but in an instant his eyes were locked on the girl in a coffee-colored coat. Her bright and moving eyes were like the warm sun in winter, shining into his deep eyes. Du Jiusheng narrowed his eyes, and his right hand trembled. There were countless memories that filled his mind, but they were blocked by layers of fog, and he couldn't remember them no matter what. Chapter 3384. At this time, Du Yingsheng held Li Luo's hand as they crossed the road again, heading in the direction of their car. But this time, the god of death had already silently arrived by their side. Not far away, there was a black SUV that was stepping on the gas pedal as it headed in Du Yingsheng's direction. Li Luo had just let go of Doing Sheng's hand to run away. Children like the feeling of being free. The black off-road vehicle crashed directly into Li Luo. The sound of the engine and the screams of the car were deafening. "Be careful," Luo Qingshun and Du Jiusheng said at the same time as they charged in Li Luo's direction. But before that, Nian was standing at the railing closest to Li Luo. Her feet left the ground as she charged at Li Luo. In an instant, Nian grabbed Li Luo and slammed into the railing on the right. "Nian," Luo Qingshun called out in a shocked voice as it trembled a bit. "Damn!" The driver of the SUV angrily roared out, wanting to turn around and run them over again. But there was a loud pong sound as the tires of the SUV screeched. Du Jiusheng slightly knit his brows as a sparkle appeared in his eyes. He used the baseball in the car to stop the SUV from turning around, and there was a sparkle in his deep eyes. Nianin, Nianin, Nianin. Why did this name feel so familiar to him? Why did that girl's panicked eyes seem to have broken his heart? The people in the SUV saw that the situation was bad and abandoned the car. Du Jiusheng looked at the driver, and the driver nodded before chasing after them. At this time, Nianin gritted her teeth as she stood up. She immediately helped Li Luo up and said, "Are you all right?" Li Luo's eyes were instantly filled with tears. Large drops of tears fell like pearls from a broken necklace. She sniffed as she said in a choked voice, "Little big brother, your arm is bleeding." Nianin lowered her eyes and looked at the wound on her arm. Her clothes were torn apart due to the force of the collision, and fresh blood dripped down. Luo Qingshun came to Nianin's side and looked at her. "Nianin, you..." She really couldn't speak. There was a faint mist in her eyes, and even her voice kept trembling. "I'm fine, Mom." "Big sister." Nianin looked at her and said in a small voice, "Actually, I knew he was going to hit us, so I was waiting here." Just now, when the little girl called out to him, the scene that flashed before his eyes was the scene of an off-road vehicle crashing into her. That was why he waited near the outermost railing, waiting for the off-road vehicle to drive over and save the little girl. But when Luo Qingshun heard Nian An's words, her heart was in her throat. Sometimes being too sensible is his heart, says Nian An's hearts. But just now, when he didn't hesitate to risk his life to save Li Luo, his eyes were too calm, so calm that even she doubted herself. Was he really a 5-year-old child? Li Luo, Li Luo. Doing Sheng held Li Luo in his arms as he couldn't stop crying. The scene just now was too dangerous. It was normal for her to panic like this. Chapter 3385. Right after that, when Luo Qingshun was adjusting her emotions, there was a familiar cold voice that sounded in her ears. Countless emotions filled her heart. Long time no see, familiar and unfamiliar. She had never thought that their next meeting would be under such circumstances. She really had never thought that it would be. "Is everything all right?" "Li Luo is fine." Doing Sheng put down Li Luo before looking at Nian, and the little boy who saved Li Luo seems to be injured. "Let me take a look." Du Jiusheng didn't say anything else as he squatted down to check Nian An's arm. The abrasions from the acceleration caused a large layer of skin on Nian An's arm to be cut open, which was why it kept bleeding. Luo Qingshun and Du Jiusheng faced each other. He turned Nian An's wrist and asked, "Does it hurt here?" "It doesn't hurt that much. Actually, it should hurt quite a bit, but he could endure it," which meant that it wasn't a fracture. Du Jiusheng nodded as his hands continued to press down on the middle of his arm here. "It doesn't hurt that much." Du Jiusheng saw how patient he was, and his heart suddenly skipped a beat. There was a special feeling of pain in his heart. Why did he feel that this child was so familiar? There was a special sense of familiarity in his eyes. But he couldn't describe this kind of familiarity. There shouldn't be a fracture. It's just a flesh wound. Du Jiusheng looked up at her. "I'll send you to the hospital." "But..." Yukin Kan's voice slowly sounded. "Aren't we going to the mysterious physique center?" A woman's intuition was always accurate. She didn't know who this girl in brown clothes was, but she could feel that Du Jiusheng was focused on her. Of course, it's more important to send them to the hospital. Doing Sheng had a sharp look in his eyes. It wasn't like you didn't see how dangerous it was just now. If it wasn't for this child, Li Luo might have... Big sister, I didn't mean that. You can quickly explained. I just feel that I can send them to the hospital. You can go to the mysterious physique center first. After all, Star River Village is a big matter. No need. Du Jiusheng directly rejected her. I'll send them. Okay, Xiaosheng, send them there. Du Yingxing looked at Luo Qingshun and said, thank you so much. I don't know how to express my gratitude. Anyway, we will pay for all the medical expenses. If you need anything else, you can call me. This is my business card. All right. Luo Qingshun took the business card, and a light flashed in her eyes. She said, thank you, but we can go to the hospital by ourselves. Before Luo Qingshun's voice fell, Du Jiusheng had already picked up Nian and walked toward the taxi in front. Luo Qingshun was stunned. He seemed to feel that she didn't follow him. He turned his eyes and said, if you don't go, I'll go by myself. He didn't know why, but there was a kind of anger in his heart. This was an expression of anger. It was as if he was already unhappy that she didn't let him send it. Then I'll leave first. Luo Qingshun ran to catch up to Du Jiusheng, and Du Yingxing, standing on the side, revealed a look of disbelief. She had grown up with Du Jiusheng, but she had never seen him reveal this kind of expression. Although she had been married for many years, there shouldn't have been that big of a change. Du Jiusheng, who picked up the little boy, didn't seem like him at all. Chapter 3386. Inside the taxi. The driver was an uncle who was around 40 years old, and there was a family photo of him, his wife, and his child in the front. The child seemed to be around the same age as Nian, around 4 or 5 years old. Luo Qingshun was sitting on the left side of the back seat, and Du Jiusheng was sitting on the right side, holding Nian. The atmosphere in the car was very awkward. Luo Qingshun didn't say anything because she was afraid that Du Jiusheng would see through her if she said something wrong. As for Du Jiusheng, he was unsettled because of his guilty conscience. He was very sure that he had never seen the child in his arms before in his life. But without knowing why, he felt very assured holding this child. Seeing him hurt, there was a very painful feeling in his heart. It was because this feeling was too real that he didn't even think of doing something like this. The driver felt that the atmosphere in the car was a bit awkward, so he casually found a topic to talk about. Did the child go somewhere to play? It seems like he fell quite seriously. Children nowadays are quite naughty. You should pay attention as a parent. I know. Luo Qingshun nodded. When she was about to speak, Nian cut her off. She is my big sister. As soon as her voice fell, Nian looked at her with a shu expression. Her big eyes turned before she looked at Du Jiusheng from the corner of her eyes. Luo Qingshun was stunned. She seemed to understand the meaning in Nian An's eyes and the monologue in his heart. You said it's big sister outside. Such a handsome man. Mommy, why don't you grab hold of him? Although Luo Qingshun wasn't certain what Nian An's eyes meant, she was 90% certain that it meant this. The driver suddenly said, so it's big sister? Thinking about it, the young miss is only in her early 20s. How could she have such a big child? So she's the stepmother? Luo Qingshun quickly shook her head. No. That Uncle Driver is so powerful. Nian grabbed Du Jiusheng's arm. Isn't my dad handsome? Du Jiusheng, who had been watching the play with a worried look, was suddenly surprised as he said, I'm not. Hey. The next second, Nian interrupted him and said, Nian is so pitiful. She didn't have a father to dote on her, and a mother to love her. She even fell. Sob. It's really too tragic. Luo Qingshun and Du Jiusheng looked at each other at the same time, and both of them were stunned. What exactly is Nian acting this time? She could totally attend the Oscars, okay? Could it be that children really have such powerful telepathy? Could it be that he knew that Du Jiusheng was his father? Young people nowadays. The driver sighed and said, they always like the new and hate the old. They hurt the old and the new. In fact, the ones who are hurt the most are the children. Do middle-aged people like to make wild guesses? Du Jiusheng revealed a helpless smile. Do you really think that I am this child's father? He had sent the person who saved his niece to the hospital. How could he suddenly become someone else's father? Not to mention marriage. He didn't even have a history of love. How could he become someone else's father? Of course. The driver looked at Du Jiusheng in the rearview mirror before looking at Nian and saying, "They're completely carved from the same mold." End of this chapter. Hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 3387. Luo Qingqian's heart skipped a beat, and her expression changed. Du Jiusheng saw this small change, and he narrowed his eyes as a faint sparkle appeared in his eyes. Why? Why did he have this strange feeling? The girl who was in her early 20s sitting beside him was very beautiful, but with his status, there were at least 900 beauties who approached him, but his eyes never fell on anyone. But this person was different. When he was on the other side of the street, he looked out the window and saw the sea of people in the city square. His eyes didn't hesitate to fall onto her. Then his heart would inexplicably beat intensely. This beat wasn't a normal beat. It was a pung, pung, pung beat that made his ears turn red. Why did he have this feeling that made his heart feel happy? Cook. Luo Qingqian gave 2 coughs and changed the topic. "Sir Driver, seems like you care about your family. That's a photo of your wife and daughter." "That's right," he said with a sigh. "It's a pity that I don't have any skills. I can't give my wife and daughter a happy home, letting them run around all year round. Then my wife left with my daughter. It's already been several years." "Where do they go?" Luo Qingqian suddenly felt that this story was a bit moving. The driver said in a very relaxed manner, "They went abroad. When my wife gets her green card in a few years, I'll go out with her." At this moment, the 3 people sitting in the back row all showed the same expression. That was speechless. The driver was in self-satisfied mode the rest of the way, praising his wife and daughter. The more he spoke, the happier he became. When they got out, he actually said, "Since you made me feel the beauty of a family, I won't charge you for this trip." He. Luo Qingqian narrowed her eyes and gave a few cold laughs. She didn't know why she was clearly taking a free taxi, clearly taking advantage of him, but her heart felt very uncomfortable. But she didn't know that Du Jiusheng standing beside her would put 100 bills on the seat and say, "My son doesn't need to go abroad to live well, and my wife doesn't need to wait for a green card. There's nothing I want that I can't get." The driver was stunned for a moment. Suddenly, he felt like he was surrounded by a powerful aura. When he was about to respond, Du Jiusheng put his business card on the 100 bills. "If your wife can't get her green card, you can call me. I should be able to help you." He always felt that his identity was different from many people, but he wasn't high up. But at least the things that this driver could give his wife. Moreover, he could double it. Dig. Nian didn't forget to clap when he saw this. "Daddy Jiusheng is super handsome." Du Jiusheng heard this and raised his right hand to poke his nose. "How do you know my name?" "It's written on your business card." Nian rubbed his nose and said, "Du Jiusheng." Actually, Nian didn't know who this person was, but when he was hugged by him, he felt like he was surrounded by family love. This feeling was very similar to when his grandfather Luo Shi hugged him, but it was a bit different. End of this chapter. Hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 3388. "You're quite smart," Du Jiusheng said. "After the examination, I'll take you out to eat." Luo Qingqian looked at her watch. The development of the Olympic Center's Xingyi village was about to begin. Du Jiusheng wasn't planning on going? "Didn't that girl say that you had something important to do?" Luo Qingqian looked at him and said, "You're not going?" "No rush." Du Jiusheng's lips curled into a confident smile. "No matter when I go, the result will be the same." No one could take away the things he wanted, whether it was Xingyi village or anything else. On the 3rd floor of the hospital. Although it was only a skin wound because the wound was quite big, Nian still received 10 stitches and was wrapped in a thick bandage. Even with the anesthetic, Luo Qingqian felt that it was very painful when she saw the needles go through Nian's skin. But Nian was very calm. She would occasionally knit her brows and didn't even make a sound. This was a calm and steady child. Just now in the taxi, he was crying so much that his tears were about to fall. Could she believe him? The wound has already been taken care of. The nurse's eyes fell onto Du Jiusheng as she gave him the form. Family member, come and sign this. You can leave after paying the medical fees. Luo Qingxin and Du Jiusheng were stunned at the same time. Could it be that because she was too young, she wasn't even qualified to be Nian An's family member? Actually, I'm the one. When Luo Qingxin reached out to take the form, Du Jiusheng took it before her. I know. The nurse softly patted Nian An's head. You are the bravest child I've ever seen. You will definitely be as handsome as your father in the future. Thank you, big sister, for your praise. Nian politely replied, not refuting or explaining her relationship with Du Jiusheng at all. At that moment, Luo Qingxin, standing on the side, felt strangely awkward. Right. Your family, I'm the one who brought you to the hospital, all right? At the cashier, Du Jiusheng decisively paid the money and signed his name in the family section. Luo Qingxin was actually a little touched, and even her eyes were slightly red. Du Jiusheng was still that Du Jiusheng. Even if he didn't have his memories, and even if his identity was different from hers, the way he looked at her had never changed. After coming out of the hospital, Du Jiusheng planned on taking them to a meal before heading to the center, but Luo Qingxin said that she also wanted to go to the center, so the three of them went back the same way. The driver was very quiet this time, but Du Jiusheng became more talkative. Is Nian your younger brother? Du Jiusheng looked at her and said, the driver was right. You're only in your early 20s. How could you have a 5-year-old child? Maybe it's because I look young. Luo Qingxin put her right elbow on the window as an indifferent look flashed in her eyes. Maybe it's because my face looks young. Little sister, I've seen countless people. I think I can tell if you're 20 or 25. Du Jiusheng was very confident in himself, but there was a bit of doubt in his confidence this time. It's a pity that Mr. Du is wrong. Luo Qingxin raised her left hand to pat Nian An's head. I am his mother. End of this chapter. Hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 3389. She felt that she didn't need to lie to Du Jiusheng. Yes meant yes, no meant no. There was no meaning in lying to him. Lulu, Nian said in a disappointed voice. Mommy, didn't we agree that you're mommy at home and big sister outside? It was hard to make this person believe that she was his big sister. How could she see through it all of a sudden? Du Jiusheng was a bit surprised, as there was a complicated feeling in his heart. A bit disappointed, a bit happy, and a bit strangely excited. In short, this feeling was very strange. So strange that he felt that he was very strange. Moreover, since it was like this, there was a question he really wanted to ask. So, his father, Nian said, it's you? Daddy Jiusheng. Nian, you can't be this rude. Luo Qingxin slightly knit her brows. Don't you know how to call him uncle? Luo Qingxin actually didn't want to stop Nian. It was normal for her to have more sixth sense than others with a moonglass fan. She stopped her because she wanted to know Du Jiusheng's reaction. It was said that there was a telepathic connection between father and son. Then did Du Jiusheng and Nian have it? As expected, Du Jiusheng slightly knit his brows, as if he felt uncomfortable because of what she said. Am I that old? Du Jiusheng looked at Luo Qingxin and said, calling you big sister and calling me uncle, isn't that a bit unfair? I don't think there's a problem. Luo Qingxin gave a shrug. It should be normal for 26 to call you uncle. It would be strange if you call me big brother, all right? How do you know that I'm 26 this year? Luo Qingxin was a bit surprised when she heard this, but she met Du Jiusheng's gaze when she turned. This gaze was like a dazzling blade, like it could see through her heart. I probably guessed. Luo Qingxin's lips twitched into a smile. You also guessed that I was in my early 20s. After saying this, she blinked and looked away. It was like Du Jiusheng could see through her heart again as he softly said, but I wasn't precise enough. So have we met before? Or we didn't? When Du Jiusheng looked at her, she was a bit flustered. Actually, she should admit it, but once she did, she would have to accept an endless stream of topics. Given the current situation, she did not have much time to explain. Usually, when someone denies it so quickly, it's because Senior Du Luo Qingxin glanced sideways. Her clear eyes trembled as she said, "We are here." It had to be said, it was a good thing she came at the right time, Otherwise, she would have been seen through by Du Jiusheng. What does Nian want to eat? Du Jiusheng looked at him and said, anything you want to eat. Mr. Du, thank you for treating us to a meal. Luo Qingxun looked at the time again and said, but I still have something to do. Let's meet again next time. As soon as her voice fell, Luo Qingxun picked up Nian Un as she prepared to move forward. She knew why she was in such a rush, because he should have seen through something. So he looked at her with such a probing gaze. You're from Xinghe village, right? Du Jiusheng stood behind them and put his hands in his pockets. You're going to the Olympic Center for the Development of Xinghe village, right? Good night. End of this chapter. Hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 3390. Du Jiusheng knew that they came from Xinghe village because Nian had a pendant with the word Xing on it, which had a galaxy pattern on it. Of course, this was only one of the reasons. The other reason was that today was a rest day, so the center wasn't open to the public. There were only 2 floors in the center that were rented. The 7th floor was used for an advertisement, and the 20th floor was used for the development of Xinghe village. Luo Qingxun had a child. It was impossible for her to be a model or a staff member. Adding in the fact that she cared about the time, the only possibility was that she was a villager of Xinghe village. But in these 5 years, he had sent many planes to Xinghe village to take pictures, but there had never been a single picture of this girl in front of him. Could it be that it was just a coincidence? Daddy Jiusheng is so smart. Nian said, we came to protect Xinghe village. Mr. Du, why do you have to be so clean? Luo Qingxun's lips curled into a faint smile. Didn't you also come for Xinghe village? Actually, she didn't like this feeling of going head-to-head, but she didn't like being secretive when facing Du Jiusheng. Perhaps being honest was the only thing she could do to him. Du Jiusheng narrowed his eyes as a faint sparkle appeared in them. It's not that I want to pour cold water on you, but Xinghe village has no chance of winning. You're saying that there's no chance of winning against Su Mu? Or Luo Qingxun paused before continuing, or that there's no chance of winning against you. There were some words that seemed very cruel, but Luo Qingxun still said them. This time, they were standing on opposite sides of each other. Du Jiusheng was surprised. Seeing the sparkle in Luo Qingxun's eyes, there was a piercing pain in his heart. Why did his heart hurt when he felt that she was wronged, and this feeling was so strong? Sumu isn't easy to deal with. Du Jiusheng looked away. You won't win even if you're prepared, not to mention that you weren't prepared at all. Although he was determined to win the development of Xinghe village, he was not completely sure that there would be no accidents. Everything had its risks. Even if the risks were low, they were still risks. Therefore, large enterprises had to conduct a professional risk assessment before making a decision. When Luo Qingxun heard this, she raised her eyes indifferently and said, how do you know that I'm not prepared? What did you prepare? Won't we know once we get in? In the next second, Luo Qingxun held Nian's hand and walked toward the center of the Olympic Stadium. As the elevator went up, it was so quiet that only the sound of each other's breathing could be heard. Du Jiusheng wanted to say something, but he was struggling in his heart. He had originally planned to take over Xinghe village and build it into another CBD of City A according to the company's plan. But why did he waver at this time? Ever since he was young, he had never wavered in his decisions. But this time, he was wavering because of a person he had just met for the first time. He cannot describe this feeling, but he felt that his head was a little heavy. It seemed very heavy. Ding. The elevator reached the 20th floor, and Luo Qingxun carried Nian out. This was a large press conference. The village chief Yiku and her childhood sweetheart Yiran were already here. Other than Su Mu and Yu Kan, there were over 30 famous entrepreneurs here. There were over 100 people here, including the reporters. End of this chapter. Hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 3391. Yuki saw Du Jiusheng right away and quickly came over. Her expression didn't seem good as she slightly knit her brows. Jiusheng, why did you bring them here? Since the beginning, she felt that Du Jiusheng was a bit special to this girl. So special that he didn't seem like an ice-cold man. A woman's intuition was very accurate. So even if it was her first time meeting Luo Qingxun, she was filled with hostility towards her. Ching-chun. Yiran quickly came over from not far away and grabbed Luo Qingchun's wrist. Why are you here? He suddenly looked up at Du Jiusheng and said, Why are you with him? Du Jiusheng narrowed his cold eyes and looked at Yiran with absolute hostility. He didn't know why when he first met him. He didn't like him, and now he felt even more uncomfortable. There was an unwillingness to have something that belonged to him taken by someone else. What? Du Jiusheng narrowed his eyes. You mean that I know Miss Luo Qingchun? You don't know each other. Yiran directly put Luo Qingchun behind him and stood in front of her. You never knew each other. The first time he saw Du Jiusheng, Yiran felt like his little jacket had been taken away. But he felt that if he could be good to his little green plum, it didn't matter if he took a step back. But what did he get in return? He recovered his memories and became the Du Group's CEO, Du Jiusheng. He went from a youth who thought about Xinghe Village to someone who stood on the opposite side of Xinghe Village. From that moment on, Yiran hated Du Jiusheng, so he said to him that since he left, he shouldn't come back. You, what are you talking about? Yukin pursed her lips as her heart filled with panic. She moved closer to Du Jiusheng. Jiusheng, how about we go over first? You go over first. Du Jiusheng took a step forward and put his hands in his pocket. Looking at your nervous appearance, could it be that you are Nian An's father? When he said this, he had a mocking tone because as long as he observed a little, he would know that the man called Yiran in front of him was definitely not Nian An's father. At the same time, he could tell that this man cared a lot about Luo Qingchun. He was unhappy. That kind of strong desire to control covered the sky and covered the earth. Every word of his was like a gem, blocking the others to the point that they were unable to speak. It's not important if I'm Nianan's father or not. Yiran looked at Du Jiusheng with a cold snort. The important thing is that you're not related to him. Yiran. Luo Qingchun frowned and said, Don't say any more. Actually, she never blamed Du Jiusheng. When he got into a car accident, she insisted on bringing him back to Xinghe Village and giving him a new identity. When he regained his memories, she disappeared for another 5 years. The culprit was her, and the one who disappeared for 5 years was her. She didn't feel that she had the right to blame Du Jiusheng. The most important thing was that they had to solve the problem of who Xinghe Village belonged to. Su Mu was already troublesome enough. She didn't want to be enemies with Du Jiusheng at this time. Qingchun. Luo Qingchun closed her eyes and said in a voice that only Yiran could hear, You and I both know whose child Nian is. End of this chapter. Hurry up and read it. Chapter 3392. She felt sorry for Nianan. He didn't have a father or a mother for 5 years. But he didn't learn bad things. Rather, he was more outstanding than normal people. For such a child, she wanted to give him a complete family, not tell him in front of his biological father that he wasn't his father. This was why she didn't correct Nian and when he called Du Jiusheng Father Jiusheng. Perhaps it was selfishness. In that moment in the taxi, she felt that the three of them had really become a family, not strangers who didn't know each other. So you are the child's mother and not the child's big sister. Yukin can let out a long sigh of relief as a look of joy that was hard to hide appeared in her eyes. I really have to thank you for saving Li Luo. A married woman with a child was no longer a match for her. Du Jiusheng was such a proud person. How could he have a relationship with a woman with a child? Young miss you. Don't you think it's a bit late to thank me like this? Luo Qingchun said, but I still have to say that there's no need to thank me. Why could Du Jiusheng be hostile to Yiran, and she couldn't be hostile to Yukin Can? Enmity is a mutual thing, okay? Could it be that she wouldn't be angry? Du Jiusheng's cold as ice face relaxed. He narrowed his eyes as he looked at Luo Qingchun. Let me see what you're prepared for later. The reason why he suddenly wasn't angry was because he could feel her hostility towards Yukin Can. This hostility seemed to be telling him that in the eyes of this woman he was meeting for the first time, he was at least important. But he still didn't understand why Luo Qingchun's importance towards him made him feel happy. Good afternoon to all the guests. Please take your seats according to the number in your hands. The Star River Village Development Conference will begin in 3 minutes. The broadcast suddenly sounded, and Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes as she replied to Du Jiusheng. All right, but don't be too surprised. Let's wait and see. Du Jiusheng narrowed his eyes as his lips curled into a faint smile. Yiran didn't seem to want to give them a chance to communicate. He carried Nianin and said, Let's go. But Nianin looked down and said, I want to sit with Daddy Jiusheng. What? What did you call him? Two surprised voices sounded at the same time, coming from Yu Can and Yiran. At this moment, the faint smile on Du Jiusheng's lips became even thicker. Nian was like an absolute trump card on his side, always giving him surprises inadvertently. Miss Luo, why is your child calling Jiusheng daddy? Yu Can anxiously bit her lip. Don't you think this is too impolite? Her heart that had just calmed down became even more flustered. Actually, the reason why she was flustered wasn't because the child called Du Jiusheng dad, but rather because Du Jiusheng didn't refute or reject him at all. Furthermore, all right, Du Jiusheng took his hands out of his pocket and squatted down to pat them. Come over. All right. Nianin broke out of Yi Ran's embrace and ran in Du Jiusheng's direction before being picked up by him. This happened in less than 10 seconds, and Luo Qingshun didn't even have time to react. Du Jiusheng had already carried Nian and off the VIP seats in the first row, leaving behind a proud bag for her. Into this chapter. Hurry up and read it. Chapter 3393. Qingshunyu. Yiran knit her brows and came close to ask in a small voice, Did you tell Nianin? Of course not. Luo Qingshun knit her brows and said, Du Jiusheng doesn't have any memories of the past. How could I tell Nianin about this? If he acted very indifferent, wouldn't it hurt Nian An's heart? Nianin was too sensible. His sensibility sometimes made her heart ache. It was a kind of sensibility that was beyond his age, beyond his wisdom. Then why? Why did he call Du Jiusheng father? Yiran bit her lip in an unwilling manner. What qualification does he have to be Nian An's father? Luo Qingshun cut Yiran off. It isn't a matter of whether he has the qualification or not, but Nianin strangely called him father. Du Jiusheng strangely, tacitly agreed to this relationship. This is too strange. Yiran couldn't understand. Yiran couldn't understand at all. Perhaps you should say, this is too unthinkable. Luo Qingshun took a deep breath and walked in the direction of the number plate. Actually, there was a bit of excitement and a bit of joy in her heart, but she deliberately used a calm expression to cover up the excitement and joy in her heart. But Xinghe Village's press conference was about to begin. She had to stake everything to gain the trust of the villagers and not let anyone else obtain the rights to develop Xinghe Village. This press conference will be broadcasted on the big screen in Xinghe Village. All the villagers could see it, and they would decide where Xinghe Village would go. At first, the big screen showed an introduction to Star River Village. Then, a few small entrepreneurs came on stage. They proposed many feasible plans, but the villagers didn't seem to be moved. Until Sumu stood on stage. Hello everyone, I am Sumu. Sumu was wearing a white suit. He looked very elegant, but his eyes were filled with a sharp dark light. He gave a bow before saying, First, I would like to thank the villagers of Xinghe Village for their trust in me. In these 5 years, in order to make Xinghe Village better, myself and my assistant have come to Xinghe Village no less than 20 times. I think that this number of times is enough to prove my sincerity. After saying this, he didn't forget to look at Du Jiusheng sitting in the VIP seat. After all, the number of times Du Jiusheng went to Xinghe Village in these 5 years could be counted on one hand. Oh no, it wasn't counted on one hand. It was just one time. There was only one time. Whether it was the number of times or the favor, he had the advantage. I don't think I'll go into too much detail about the terrain of Star River Village. Perhaps some of you don't know that the terrain of Star River Village is not suitable for building a resort. Because the water, 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 and the hot springs. In the next 10 minutes, Sumu explained everything about the geological structure of Xinghe Village and how great it would be to build a CBD here. Sumu was very smart, and he was well prepared. Luo Qingshun looked at village chief Yi Ke's expression, and she knew that Yi Ke was moved. Then there must be many people in Xing He village who were moved. But when Su Mu finished, Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes and raised the objection sign in her hand. But I don't think that Xing He village's soil and geology aren't suitable for an amusement park. High energy warning ahead. End of this chapter. Hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 3394. Su Mu froze for a moment. When he looked at Luo Qingshun, his whole body froze. Although he had only seen this face once, he would never forget it for the rest of his life. 5 years ago in Star River Village, he had strongly felt the aura of an evenly matched opponent. Now that 5 years had passed, time did not seem to have left many traces on her face, but her aura was even stronger than it had been at that time. Miss Luo Qingshun. Su Mu raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at her with a pair of deep eyes. According to you, if Xinghe Village is suitable for building an amusement park, then it should have started 5 years ago, and it shouldn't still be the same now, right? Su Mu had been paying attention to Luo Qingshun's affairs. 5 years ago, when he was planning to kill her husband, he encountered some accidents. He did not expect that her husband would disappear at the same time. In any case, this was a good thing for Su Mu Kai. However, the villagers of Star River Village had stopped him from doing so, even though he was confident that he could take over the village. No matter how good the conditions he offered and how it was impossible to build a resort in Xinghe Village, the villagers did not intend to sell the village. Su Mu did not expect this to happen. When Luo Qingshun and the others stood in front of him, at least they had the capital to do so. However, they had disappeared at that time. He did not know how the villagers rejected such good conditions with their willpower. Su Mu had no choice but to use another way to start a protracted war with the villagers of Xinghe Village. In the past 5 years, he had done a lot of things. He had threatened, used, and sowed discord. He had done all kinds of things in order to get more villager support through some improper means. Some of the villagers hated him, but they had to support him. In fact, Su Mu had already obtained 30% support from the villagers of Xinghe Village for this development project. No matter why those people supported him, it did not matter to him. What he cared about was the result. The result of Xinghe Village falling into his hands. 5 years ago was 5 years ago. This is now. Luo Qingshun looked at him coldly and said, "Mr. Su, do you know what you did 5 years ago?" "Of course I know." Su Mu sneered. "But that person is no longer here, isn't he?" Du Jiusheng's deep eyes fell onto Luo Qingshun, and there was a heavy doubt in his heart. Why did Su Mu also know Luo Qingshun and that they had met 5 years ago? However, he had also been to Star River Village 5 years ago, so why had he not seen her? And what did she mean by what Su Mu did? This was Du Jiusheng's first time being filled with doubt. In this life, he could see through anything with a single glance. However, at this moment, he seemed to be unable to see through many things. Perhaps it was because there was a knot in his heart from the very beginning, and only he knew what it was. He couldn't deny that he liked Nian and calling him Father Jiusheng, but he was actually jealous of that man. Since Luo Qingshun was the mother of this child, then who was the father? Du Jiusheng looked down at Nian and in his embrace. Nian seemed to feel his gaze and said, "Does Father Jiusheng need something?" "Who is your birth father?" Du Jiusheng patted his head. "I don't have any other meaning, but Su Mu said that that person is no longer here." "Yes, dead." Chapter 3395. Nian said, "I've never seen him before." "What?" Du Jiusheng wanted to ask something, but Luo Qingshun had already stood up. She took out something that looked like a scroll from her bag and walked over to Su Mu. At this moment, her figure attracted everyone's attention, including Su Mu and Du Jiusheng. "Young Miss Luo Qingshun." Su Mu slightly knit his brows. "It's my turn to speak. I just feel that since the argument isn't right, there's no need to keep talking." Luo Qingshun placed the blueprint that Du Jiusheng had drawn on the table. "How about you look at this blueprint first before explaining your argument?" Su Mu knit his brows as he felt a bit unsettled. He had never felt this kind of unsettled feeling before. After all, at this height, there was almost nothing he couldn't do other than pick the stars in the sky. But why was it that every time he faced Luo Qingchun, he felt that this woman in front of him would ruin his plans? Since she had been missing for 5 years, why did she come back now? Blueprint? Sumu looked at the scroll-like thing and said, Xinghe village isn't that big, but it isn't small either. This kind of blueprint isn't something that can be done in a day or two. Shua. Luo Qingchun undid the blueprint and placed it on the white table. The camera immediately focused on the scroll, and the blueprint was projected onto the screen. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air and instantly fell into a dead silence. Du Jiusheng felt his heart skip a beat, and the fingers on his right hand couldn't help trembling. Pika, 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 pika. After scanning it, this blueprint is 9,999% made by master. Because the robot system created by Du Jiusheng's phone was connected to the internet, as long as the phone was turned on, the robot named Pikachu would always be turned on. But because the 4th-generation artificial intelligence was too advanced, Pikachu had the same brain as a human and had the same ability to think. Therefore, when something happened, it would automatically jump out to show its presence. Du Jiusheng knit his brows as a faint sparkle appeared in his eyes as he looked in Luo Qingchun's direction. At the same time, Luo Qingchun was also looking at him. It was because there were too many emotions in Du Jiusheng's eyes, so when she looked into his eyes, there was a strange feeling of guilt. As for Du Jiusheng, at this moment, he was more confused and conflicted than anyone else. Actually, even if his robot didn't analyze it, he could tell that this blueprint came from him. But he was certain that in all his memories, he didn't have any memories of drawing this blueprint in his life. Then, after eliminating all the impossibilities, the only one left, even if it was impossible, was the naked truth. 6 years ago, he had an accident, and by the time he returned home, a whole year had already passed. In other words, there was a year was a year. He didn't know where he was, what happened, or who he met. He didn't remember anything related to that year. Chapter 3396. Then, although it sounded ridiculous and unbelievable, but if this drawing was drawn by him, then it could only have been drawn in the year when he lost his memory. Could it be he was in Xinghe village that year? Perhaps this could explain why Yi Ran was filled with enmity towards him and even told him to never appear again. But why? Was it filled with hostility? If he had been missing for a year in Xinghe village, then why hadn't any of the villagers mentioned it? Their eyes always flickered when they looked at him. When they looked at him in the eyes, it was like they were afraid of saying the wrong thing. What happened in the Star River village that year? After about 5 seconds of dead silence, everyone fell into a heated discussion. This blueprint is as difficult as the along the river during the Qingming festival. God, the person who can draw this blueprint is definitely a genius. This blueprint perfectly displays all the advantages of Star River Village, and it makes full use of every part of the village. Young Miss Luo, if possible, I want to meet the person who drew this blueprint. I wonder if you can introduce me. Right, introduce me. Seeing everyone's reaction, Luo Qingchun knew that she had already won half the battle. Du Jiusheng's blueprint was the most powerful tool to attack Su Mu because he never thought that there would be such a blueprint in this world. What Mr. Su said about Xinghe Village not being an amusement park can be solved with this blueprint. Luo Qingchun raised a brow and asked, "Do you have any other questions?" Luo Qingchun put her hands in her pocket, and her lips curled into a faint smile. Big Brother Jiusheng was still Big Brother Jiusheng. A blueprint from 5 years ago was the biggest stumbling block for Su Mu when he wanted to buy Xinghe Village. Cuckoo. After a few seconds, Su Mu cleared his throat and said with an elegant smile, "Young Miss Luo's blueprint does give Xinghe Village the possibility of becoming a resort, but that doesn't mean that it can't become a business center. I think that the business district can give Xinghe Village a new look." Xinghe Village is located in the Nanyu district. It's nearly 40 minutes away from the city center of City A, even if there's no traffic jam. Also, you have to go up the 3rd Ring Road. You can't go downtown. Luo Qingchun shrugged her shoulders, her clear eyes twinkling. She pursed her lips and said with a faint smile, Do you think this place is really suitable to become a business district? Wherever the CBD is built, there will be a business district. Sumu looked at her and said, Miss Luo, you don't have to worry about this. Luo Qingshan shrugged and said, the person who drew this design once told me that the geological structure of Xinghe Village is very complicated. Even if we give up on the amusement park and build the so-called business district or CBD, we still have to consider the geological problems. Some places with hot springs underground simply can't withstand the construction of high-rise buildings. Hearing this, Sumu narrowed his eyes. His eyes were filled with cold hostility. The person who drew this blueprint was so powerful that even if he wanted to refute something, he would be able to find a breakthrough point. In the next second, Luo Qingshan didn't give him time to think. She picked up the microphone and said to everyone present and the villagers who were watching the live broadcast in Xinghe Village, first of all, thank you for everyone's trust in me. Luo Qingshan took a deep breath and gave a deep bow. Because of my words, you persevered in defending Star River Village. Chapter 3397. 5 years, an entire 5 years. It wasn't long, but it wasn't short either. Luo Qingshan was very clear that it wasn't easy for them to guard this village. After all, there were so many benefits in front of them. As long as they agreed, they could have received a large amount of compensation and moved into a high-rise building. But they had defended it. Now that the 5-year agreement was over, since she was back, she had to give the villagers a satisfactory result. She wanted to officially start building Xinghe Village, using the blueprint that Du Jiusheng drew for Xinghe Village. Perhaps it couldn't be said that it was a blueprint for Xinghe Village, but rather, it was a blueprint for her. Du Jiusheng narrowed his deep eyes as he looked at Luo Qingshan standing on the stage. His heart throbbed as he tightly knit his brows and seriously looked at her. In order to thank everyone for their trust in me, I promise that I will make Xinghe Village a perfect resort. Luo Qingshan took a deep breath and said, our ancestors have lived here for generations. We can let more people understand and experience the beauty of Xinghe Village. The scene of the sea and the sky. It isn't something that can be seen everywhere. Sumu narrowed his cold eyes, and a sinister aura came from his body. He shouldn't have kept Luo Qingshan. He should have seen her if she was alive, and her corpse if she was dead. This woman really was the same as he imagined. She had become the biggest stumbling block in his path to acquiring Xinghe Village. But I've heard that Xinghe Village has been developing very poorly in the past few years. Even if you have this perfect blueprint, you will need a large amount of money to rebuild Xinghe Village. Do you want the villagers to raise money again? Sumu used another method to attack her. His words were very logical and logical. Mr. Su doesn't need to worry about money. Luo Qingshan gave a shrug and said, I think that as long as I have this blueprint, there will be many people who want to invest in Xinghe Village. Young Miss Luo really is naive. Sumu looked at her in a taunting voice. How much investment do you think a blueprint can get? How long will it take to get the money back after it's built? There are many older villagers in Xinghe Village who are already 80 years old. What I can give them is immediate benefits, but you are a fantasy. Sumu was really smart. When he realized that he was not in a good position, he would immediately change his approach. Not only was his speed fast, but his logic was also very clear. Luo Qingshan slightly knit her brows. When she was about to say something, Du Jiusheng spoke first. Who said it's a fantasy? He gently put down yin and slowly stood up. Du Jiusheng said that a single blueprint can get all the investment from Xinghe Village's development. Hiss! Another gasp of cold air was heard. Everyone's eyes fell onto Du Jiusheng. Sumu narrowed his eyes and snorted. Manager Du is very clear that you also think that transforming Xinghe Village into a commercial center is its final destination. Why do you have to go against your original opinion for the sake of fighting? How did you know that my initial statement was that I wanted Xinghe Village to become a business circle or build a CBD building? You President Su. Du Jiusheng raised his right hand and pointed at the blueprint on the screen. Do you know who drew this blueprint? I think that I should know this better than you. Sumu narrowed his cold eyes. It's no longer on this. Before Sumu could finish, Du Jiusheng cut him off. Chapter 3398. At that moment, Du Jiusheng really was like a ray of light that shined into her life without any warning. Luo Qingshun bit her lip as her eyes turned red. He was still that Du Jiusheng, whether he had his memories or not. He was still that Du Jiusheng. When she was in danger, Du Jiusheng had firmly stood by her side. Director Du, you. This was Su Mu's first time feeling helpless. He took a deep breath and said, Director Du, why do you have to say such a ridiculous thing because of a fight? Du Jiusheng clearly wanted to take Xing He Village's land to expand his territory in the business circle and strengthen the Du Group's power in the business circle. This blueprint definitely wasn't drawn in a single day. It was impossible for Du Jiusheng to draw it. Do I need to lie? Du Jiusheng narrowed his cold eyes. I want to take Xing He Village. I don't need to lie. He knew that the pickup truck wouldn't lie, and he knew that he was the one who drew this blueprint. As for when he drew it and why he drew it, he didn't know anything. But without knowing why, when the girl on the stage was fighting with Su Mu, he especially wanted to protect her and stand by her side. You drew it. Su Mu took a deep breath as a surprised look appeared in his eyes. Could it be that this blueprint wasn't drawn by Luo Qingxin's husband who had been missing for 5 years? How could it be Du? When Su Mu's mind turned to this point, he was suddenly shocked by his own thoughts. If this blueprint was really drawn by Du Jiusheng, then everything seemed to fit together. It was as if 2 jagged pieces of a jigsaw puzzle had suddenly been put together. Du Jiusheng narrowed his eyes and looked at the change in Su Mu's expression as he was filled with doubt. Could it be that he knew something? As for Luo Qingxin, since Du Jiusheng said those 3 words, there was a buzzing sound in her head and she felt like she couldn't think straight. Su Mu's eyes fell onto Nian, and after a while, he revealed a cold smile. So it's like this. So the savior of Star River Village from 6 years ago was the same person as Du Jiusheng. So Du Jiusheng disappeared in Star River Village that year. So this child, President Su, Luo Qingxun turned to look at him and said, Judging from your eyes, you should know something. So, you lost. Su Mu took a deep breath. She looked at Luo Qingxun and said, It's been 5 years since the meteor shower. It's impossible to get the government support to rebuild the resort in Xinghe Village. There will be very few investors. Do you think this will give the villagers the best benefits? It was probably because Su Mu had changed from his usual elegance and became very fierce when he said this. Du Jiusheng tightly knit his brows and completely ignored the people around him. Before Luo Qingxun could respond, he directly said, Since the blueprint was drawn by me, naturally I will invest. Is there a problem with manager Su Mu? Jiusheng, Yukinkan anxiously looked at him and said, Calm down. Yukinkan felt that when Du Jiusheng said, I drew it, she was in a state of shock. Du Jiusheng was never an impulsive person. He was very steady in everything he did. Even if it was an urgent matter, he could calmly solve it. But today, she felt that he was a different person. She didn't recognize him anymore. Chapter 3399. Young miss you. Du Jiusheng replied in a polite and cold voice. This is my own matter. Yukinkin was stunned. She felt a pang in her heart that felt very uncomfortable. In these years, Du Jiusheng didn't have a single woman by his side. She always felt that she was the lucky one because with the identity of Yu family's young miss, she could be closer to him. But she found that she was the same as the other women. She had never been closer to him. Because his expression today, she had never seen it before in all these years. Du Jiusheng, you. Director Su, since you've lost, you should leave gracefully, otherwise you'll lose your status. Su Mu tightly clenched his right fist. He knew that he was about to lose. When Du Jiusheng said that he would invest in the Star River Village as a resort, he had already lost. He wasn't willing. He was very unwilling. For the Star River Village, he had worked so hard in the past 5 years, but it had been taken away so easily. If he knew that the man in the Star River Village was Du Jiusheng, he would have done everything cleanly. Facts proved that the butterfly effect always existed. It was just a matter of time. It was impossible for the Su family group to draw this kind of blueprint for the Star River Village, and it was impossible for them to spend a large amount of money to build a resort. On this point, he had completely lost to Du Jiusheng. Good. Su Mu forced out a smile. Then I'll congratulate director Du first for obtaining the Star River Village. But I have to remind you that it isn't easy to build that village, even with the blueprint you drew. Since I can draw this kind of blueprint, naturally I can build that kind of resort. Du Jiusheng narrowed his cold eyes, and his lips curled into a faint smile. Director Su doesn't need to worry about this. Su Mu had always regarded Du Jiusheng as his only opponent. Even if Luo Qingchen appeared, Su Mu still placed Du Jiusheng first. In other words, he was a worthy opponent. Su Mu didn't say anything else as he put down the microphone and left the stage. Du Jiusheng's words were right. Su Mu, had over 100 million in assets and status. Even if he couldn't take the Star River Village, he couldn't lower his status. After Su Mu left, the people under the stage began to whisper. There were some reporters who took out their cameras to take pictures of Luo Qingchen on stage. Du Jiusheng, standing under the stage, knit his brows and walked onto the stage. After rolling up the scroll, he took her wrist out of habit and walked off the stage. Yanin seemed to understand something. She held Luo Qingchen's other hand, and the three of them walked off the stage. Luo Qingchen bit her lip as her eyes couldn't stop turning red. Although he was not holding her hand, although he was only holding her wrist, she did not know why, but she felt like crying. It was like if you suddenly fell down, but there was no one beside you. No matter how painful it was, you would only get up on your own and would not cry. But if someone came over and hugged you and touched your head gently, you would cry uncontrollably. The same logic. If she was the only one fighting with Su Mu, she wouldn't have felt anything. But before she could fight, Du Jiusheng stood by her side, protecting her at all costs. That feeling was an indescribable warmth.